Yeah, oh man, it was July 4th, and me and we have a big like party outside, kind of a block party thing, and we had been, we had a keg of Coors, and we were crushing that all day, but doing shots too. And my buddy and I had to go into my other friend's house, whose son is in the Marines, and he was visiting his son wherever he was stationed. So he's like, "Hey, Key's here. If you need, we needed to grab something." And he's got all these IPAs, and we're already drunk at the time. Go down into the basement. I was like, "Hey, we're grabbing a beer." And he said, "Yeah, no problem. Right across the street." Had no idea these were 12%ers and just crushed them. My night was immediately over after. I mean, it was 11:30 already, but I was immediately over after that, drinking since noon.
Yeah, exactly. People in chat have been like, "Oh, Adam doesn't like IPAs." I'm like, no, I like IPAs, but you and I talked about it. Like normally when I go out for like a session, like a prolonged period of time.
Not sit on IPAs for 10 hours.
Yeah, where I'm not gonna go drink like 12 IPAs.
Plus, the hangover is going to kill you.
Right.
What's going on, everybody? Listen, what better way to start off a St. Patrick's Day show than with a little drinking talk? I'm rocking the Loughran Irish Pub shirt right there. Good stuff. Located somewhere in New York. Never been there, but I got the hoodie from my uncle, so that's pretty cool. And we got 8 games of basketball to talk about. I'm Dave Loughran, Lafayette_D, joined by Adam Scherer at Ship My Money DFS. How you feeling, man?
Good. Have some money on Iowa State to come back and win. So hopefully Eric's alma mater comes through for me. But no, today's I'm feeling good. Today was fun. St. Patrick's Day, March Madness. It's a good time.
You doing anything tonight?
I don't know. I haven't decided. I think I said it to you before. I hate holidays like St. Patrick's Day living where I live because I have easy access to all of the bars all of the time. And now it just means it's going to be crowded and I'm going to have to like wait in line or stand. So I don't know.
Yeah, but they're probably kind of sick. Like you live in the city, so it's kind of cool, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's okay.
To go out for a couple hours.
It would be better if like it would be fun if one of my friends wanted to come down to the city and we could go out. But like for just going out and like hanging out and watching basketball, it's probably going to be pretty miserable because everywhere's going to be packed.
Well, what are you guys drinking? What are you guys doing tonight? Let us know. If you're going out, you got to at least rip a shot of JMO out of the gate. Even Adam, I would force to rip a shot of Jameson with me if we hung out, and he hates shots.
You say that. You couldn't get me to, you couldn't force me to take a shot in Chicago.
We'd pin you down. We'd waterboard you with Jameson. All right. Anyway, let's have some fun here. And let's get, drinking green, Hannah Banana. Yeah. Yeah, where do they do the Green River? Chicago, right?
Yeah, Chicago.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. Yes. You ain't a gangster said Jameson is trash. All right, pal, keep it to yourself. Bill Collins, been to Loughran's, 5 minutes from my house. Is it any good, dude? I was thinking about driving there. I might actually, I would love to drive there and check it out and be like, check the ID.
Is it pronounced Loughran's? Because isn't that not how you pronounce your name?
There's like 4 different pronunciations of my name.
Okay.
Like Loughran. There isn't like an actual, I don't think there's actually a correct pronunciation. You know what I mean? It's just kind of how it's evolved over time. All right. Ready to talk a little basketball here?
Yeah, I guess so.
All right. Philly, 10.5-point favorites against Charlotte today, 228.5 total. I'm still in betting mode. I just came off the Odd Shop show, so forgive me for that. 4 p.m. on the Odd Shopper channel, Monday through Friday, by the way. But yeah, with Philly today, our best bet on OddsShopper too is Joel Embiid under 51.5 points, rebounds, and assists, just because the under is like plus money on DraftKings today. But let's kick it off at the top. Joel Embiid, James Harden. I don't assume much has changed since we talked about it this morning, but Joel Embiid pretty popular today. He's an animal, and he is your rightful pick for MVP right now, right, Adam?
Man, just terrible. So I will say I did like, and now I don't, but I did like the plus odds at like plus 200 or plus 300, whatever it was, a couple of days ago on Embiid, and he's now favored. I don't think he should be the MVP, but I thought that there was a better chance the voters would get it wrong than plus 300. And now it seems like they're heading that direction.
I guess just looking at Joel Embiid, looking at James Harden today, Harris getting ownership. I mean, that's just brutal. I am laddering maxi threes though, up to 5 at plus 600. So that's going to be enjoyable. 3, 4, and 5 on maxi threes. Not sure how much I like him at 6,300. Tobias at 4,900. It's just, it never feels good, Adam, even if it's the right play.
Yeah, I mean, I like Embiid looks really good here. Even though he's the third best MVP candidate, he's still a good DFS play today. 11-4, good price tag, fast paced matchup. Harden looks very good at 9,600. That is going to be a theme throughout the slate that you have guys that are just priced cheaper than you normally see. But 9,600 for Harden certainly applies. Those are the two I feel the best about getting to. Harris and Maxey are kind of a step behind them, but you're likely to get 30 to 32 minutes from Harris. The problem is just that he's not a high usage guy at this point. You need to run good on 3-point shooting. You need to run good on rebounds. But at 4,900 in this spot, that's still a decent price tag. Maxey should give you 34 to 36 minutes at 6,300. So him and Harris are both fine. I think Embiid and Harden are clearly the guys you feel good about getting to.
Okay. Anybody down? I mean, there's really nobody else that you can even talk about here, right? Like once you get past those four, you can't really get into anyone else on this team right now, even in a good spot against Charlotte.
Agreed.
With Charlotte, Dennis Smith Jr. been pretty productive ever since LaMelo went down. He's averaging right around 12 potential assists per game, like essentially neck and neck with Terry Rozier in that spot. That's interesting, but the price is coming up. He is playing pretty decent minutes. He's getting ownership as well. PJ Washington, it's not the greatest matchup. Philly plays at a very slow pace, 8th in defensive rating, but among some of the like mid-range guys here, is there any spots that stands out?
I kind of think the whole team just looks decent in tournaments. I'm a little surprised by the ownership coming into Dennis Smith Jr. Granted, he did play a bunch of minutes off the bench last game, closed that game, played 32 minutes basically. But on average, you're getting like 26-ish minutes for him. So he looks fine at 5K, but I think the ownership may be a little bit high. But Rozier, Oubre, Washington, Hayward, these guys are all playing a lot of minutes. If Nick Richards manages to avoid foul trouble, which is a very big if in this spot, he's likely playing about 30 minutes as well. So it's just a team that isn't getting a lot of ownership, and you can count on a lot of playing time for their main pieces, which makes them, appealing in tournaments. But there's going to be a lot of teams today that we can say the same thing about. This slate is just kind of interesting in that there's several teams that are just like underpriced across the board, Memphis in particular, but also a few spots on several other teams. And then there's teams like Charlotte where it's just like, well, these guys are not overpriced. They're just correctly priced and they give you a nice ceiling, but they're contrarian plays because several teams are underpriced. And so it's just a situation where because the pricing is messed up on other teams, Charlotte kind of just looks like secondary plays, but a good way to, good ways to differentiate in tournaments. It's a very nice slate in that you don't have to do like weird random stuff to be different. You can play 36 minutes of Terry Rozier and be different.
If you're looking at Washington and Cleveland though, 221.5 total, Washington 5.5 point dogs on the road. Do you need to go to Washington if you want to get different here? Because on the surface, this looks like a very unappealing basketball team tonight.
Yeah, it's an unappealing matchup. I do sort of like the prices on the main three guys. And like I said, that's going to be a theme throughout the slate. But Kuzma at only 7,200 is pretty cheap for 36 minutes or so of him. Same goes for Beal, Porzingis. These guys are just at cheaper price tags than you normally see. They would be more popular if Memphis was correctly priced, if Harden were correctly priced, if Darius Garland from the other side of this game were correctly priced. But it still creates a situation where, if you look at the boom bust tool, 7% chance of being optimal for Beal, not a high priority play, but only 3.5% ownership, 5% for Porzingis, only 2.5% ownership, 10% for Kuzma, only 4% ownership. It's those three guys, I think you're not expecting to go in, like if you're playing a lot of lineups, you're not expecting to go in like, oh yeah, I'm playing 40% Kyle Kuzma or 50% Porzingis, but they are a very good high upside way to say like, okay, I have, 5 or 6 popular plays. I'm going to just play Kristaps Porzingis here and hope that he does what he normally does.
Yeah, that's fair. So you're saying what, 6% leverage on Kuzma today is what it was? I think yeah, that's pretty significant. On the other side too, I think there's some interesting talking points. One of them I want to get to with you is actually Karis LeVert, because we have him at 1%. We have him at 27 minutes here. Your thoughts on how this plays out today? Because, he played 27 minutes against Charlotte. Mind you, Jared Allen's been out. You move Mobley to the 5. What about the fact that last game, Lamar Stevens played 2 rotations, one in the first, one in the third, played fewer than 12 minutes in the game. Karis LeVert played every minute that Stevens didn't play. All 36 of them, first man off the bench, lit it up from three-point range. Right now, he's 5,401% ownership against Washington.
Yeah, I think that's really surprising. And also surprising is that Ricky Rubio is projected for 25% ownership. I think Ricky Rubio is likely to give you 20 to 22 minutes, somewhere in that range. It makes him a good point per minute play at 3,100, but there's still a very good chance. Like, he projects for 19 and a half DraftKings points. If he hits his projection and he's actually 25% owned, 1/4 of the field just gave up on winning a tournament. So that's, just a lot of ownership for me to want to go to somebody that I expect to play 20 to 22 minutes. On the other hand, Karis LeVert at 5,400, his median projection isn't quite as good, but he played 34 minutes a few games ago when Garland and Mitchell were in. He played 36 minutes last game. Granted, there was no Rubio in that one, but I think you're likely to see 30 plus minutes again from Karis LeVert. You have, with no Jared Allen, you have two of Isaac Okoro, or both of Isaac Okoro and Lamar Stevens in the starting lineup. Those guys both are absolute zeros offensively.
Yep.
And so down the stretch, it's very likely that you move Karis LeVert into the closing lineup for offensive reasons, and you still keep one of Stevens or Okoro, so you have a good defender out there. You don't need two of those guys typically closing down the stretch. So it's likely you're getting 30 plus minutes from LeVert. And at 5,400, again, there is risk. It's not a super cheap price tag, but I think 1% is too low on LeVert, and I think 25% is too high on Rubio.
I'm with you. And you know what else, too? There's multiple paths for LeVert to get those minutes. Last game, Okoro and Stevens, neither of them closed the game out. It was Chetty and Karis LeVert off the bench that played like 17 straight minutes to close the game.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, there's a lot of ways for him to get there. And when you think about the closing lineup, you just expect it to be Garland, Mitchell, Mobley, and two guys. And typically, you don't need it to be Stevens plus Okoro.
You probably don't want it to be, unless you're just holding a big lead.
Yeah, unless you're up if you're like right at that balancing line where like it's almost a blowout, but you're not quite going to take your guys out. It's like a 14-point game. Then maybe you stick with Okoro Stevens, but typically you aren't. In
a competitive spot, you're looking to get points, also have some defense, no question. All right, what about the rest of this team? Because I definitely wanted to get into that. I thought the 1% seemed really odd, especially because when I saw 1%, I thought he must be 6,500 or something, but he's not. He's 5,400.
Yeah.
And like you said, Rubio, 25%, hoping for 20, 21 minutes there. What about Mobley and Garland and Mitchell?
Yeah, those guys all look good in different ways. Mobley and Garland are pretty clearly underpriced. We saw Garland's price tag come down even a little bit from last game. It's a pretty appealing matchup. He's likely to give you around 36 minutes. 7,400 is just cheaper than he should be. Similarly with Mobley, you get a little bit of a bump in fantasy production with no Jared Allen. He's getting those minutes at the 5. He's likely to give you mid-30s in minutes. 7,600 is just a little cheap. Donovan Mitchell, on the other hand, is pretty much correctly priced. He's a little bit cheaper than you normally get at 9K, but not as glaringly underpriced as Garland and Mobley. But as a result, he's only pulling 6% ownership instead of 17 to Garland, 20 for Mobley. And it's still a good matchup. It's still relatively likely that Donovan Mitchell just takes over this game and lights it up offensively and gives you a really big game. So the reason you're not seeing more ownership to Mitchell is that there are several mispriced guards today. Garland for one, but like you have Desmond Bane from the Memphis game. You have Tyus Jones from that same game. There's some other good guard plays as well. James Harden, we already mentioned being cheaper than he should be as well. So that's why you're not getting much ownership there, but you still get a massive ceiling from what is likely to be 37, 38 minutes of Donovan Mitchell.
I saw someone earlier today in our chat mentioned that like they had seen that Curry was expected to play, that Kerr said he was expected to play. Did you see that?
I saw them say it in chat. I didn't see it anywhere else either. If that person's in chat, you can point me towards that. But I mean, of course he could still just play. It's a sore thumb. Who knows? Maybe they're cautious with him because, he's had some extended absences throughout the season. But I mentioned that because we moved to the Warriors in this spot against the Hawks, 248 total, massive total. Draymond Green is suspended. Andrew Wiggins remains out for God knows how long. And now Stephen Curry is questionable. Assuming Curry plays, and you and I went through this like in depth this morning, assuming Curry plays, there's still some good options on this team. If Curry doesn't play, then the Golden State Warriors, namely Jordan Poole at 6,200,
looks like one of the best plays you're ever going to find.
Yeah, if Curry is in, Klay Thompson still looks very good at 7,100, shooting guard, small forward, playing 34 plus minutes in a game with like a 247 and a half total. Thompson looks really good, even if Curry is in. Clearly looks better if Curry is out. DiVincenzo at 5,500 should get a bunch of minutes here. Shooting guard, small forward, so he looks fine. He'll look, marginally better if Curry is out. Kuminga at 4,400. I'm curious to see what the starting lineup is. They could go to Kuminga in place of Green. They could also go to Poole in place of Green. I expect that they'll go to Kuminga, though, which at 4,400 makes him look pretty good, probably playing like 28 to 30 minutes in that case. Kevon Looney's minutes are more solidified with no Draymond, likely giving you around 28 or so at 5,100. And like you said with Jordan Poole, if he either starts instead of Kuminga, which I'm not expecting but could happen, then he's playing more minutes. And also if Curry is out, then you're getting the increased usage as well. If Poole starts and Curry is in, Poole looks good. If Poole starts and Curry is out, Poole is very clearly one of the best plays on the slate.
Yeah, maybe the best play on the slate. 95.7 The Game tweeted yesterday that Steve Kerr just told Willard and Dibbs that he expects Stephen Curry to play tomorrow. So that was from yesterday. He's listed as questionable. So look, coach speak is take coach speak for whatever it's worth. But all right, so the people that mentioned that were correct in saying that Kerr said that. Yeah, I guess we could lean towards probable, but it's still important to talk about what we're going to do if Curry's out. And I'm glad you did. Let's just assume Curry's in. Are you still fine getting to 3 Warriors in a lineup?
Yeah, even if Curry's in, I mean, there's no reason to say there's no reason to lock yourself out of, say, playing Thompson plus Kuminga plus DiVincenzo or Thompson plus Kuminga plus Looney. Yeah, so I'm still fine getting there. And if Curry's in, he's difficult to get to because he is 10-5. He is correctly priced on a slate where a lot of guards are not, but you still get a massive ceiling for him. Like that's the kind of play that kind of ends up getting slept on in tournaments because it's not the best value at a position where you have a lot of underpriced guys. But this game has nearly a 250 point total. If this game just goes where it's a Steph Curry game as opposed to like a Klay Thompson game, and it's just one of those games that Curry is hot and he's taking all of the shots, it's not going to matter what his salary was. So there is still a lot of upside on him. It's just, it's kind of similar. It's a more expensive Donovan Mitchell where it's very, very clear he has a massive ceiling. He's just more or less correctly priced while a lot of other guards are underpriced.
Okay. Anything else for Golden State?
No.
Atlanta, 248 total. Again, this game should see an insane amount of scoring. We've got Bogdanović at 4K on DraftKings, 22%. Trae Young, 14%. Murray at 11%. DeAndre Hunter at 11%. This is just a really fascinating team because they're in a great spot just from an overall. You could see 260 points in this game for all we know, given the total, but none of them are pulling massive ownership outside of Bogdanović, who's sitting at 22%. And if you pull up the boom bust tool, when was that last updated?
2 hours ago.
Okay. So 2 minutes ago now.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. I just refreshed it. Looking at the boom bust tool on Atlanta, where do we have these guys sitting at from a leverage perspective, from an optimal standpoint? Yeah. So I get they all kind of look where they should be. A little slight negative leverage on some, but is this a team you want to get to a lot of in tournaments given the ownership? Is it a team
it's kind of similar to like Washington, except for it's clearly a better matchup for Atlanta. But the ownership has come up since this morning. But like Trae Young at 9,500, 13% owned. I don't have a real issue with that. But the problem that I see is that he's projected for similar ownership to James Harden. Harden coming in at 17%, 19% chance of being optimal. Young's at 13%, 10% chance of being optimal. On average, Trae Young's giving you 33 to 34 minutes. James Harden is giving you 38 to 40. And they're very similar point per minute guys. So it's just very hard for me at similar ownership to like ever click Trae Young in that spot. DeJounte Murray at 7,800, pulling 11% ownership. If you were like 3, 4, 5% owned, it would be one thing. But at 11%, I don't really know why I'm clicking DeJounte Murray over like Klay Thompson. you could go to Bradley Beal at lower ownership for $400 more. It's a very appealing game. I think DeJounte Murray is fine. I just don't like the ownership coming into this team quite as much as I did this morning. You do have a 4K Bogdan Bogdanovic, shooting guard, small forward, likely giving you around 24 minutes. That is too cheap of a price tag in this game environment. He only played 20 minutes last game. That would be like your risk. But on average, you're getting around 24 minutes, which, he's basically a point per minute guy. So at 4K, that's going to look good. Clint Capella not getting any ownership. I think he's okay in tournaments, but you just run the risk of, Okongwu playing more minutes than you would like. So Young and Murray, from a playing time standpoint, are the guys you're going to feel comfortable in. Bogdanovic is too cheap, and then Capella from an upside standpoint is fine.
Okay. We had a comment from Byron Underwood. Warriors will probably lose. They're horrible on the road. And then here's the what's that?
I said they are.
Yeah, I know. He said, but the total, got to play someone from that game. I mean, we play players from bad teams all the time that lose, but are in high total games. Doesn't matter who wins this game at all, really. Look, they're dog shit on the road. But are you not playing Warriors because they're bad on the road in a 248 total game?
Yeah, and Josh is right. Also, they've gotten really unlucky as far as like 3-point defense on the road.
Yeah. Mine is 7.3 plus minus on the road. I assume that it would be less bad than that. But I mean, yeah, they're bad on the, what are they, 7-27 on the road, which is remarkable, really. But hard to bring yourself to fade them just because they haven't played well on the road. All right. Let's keep it moving here. Other side of this one. Actually, no, Atlanta. Anything else for the Hawks before we keep going?
No.
I forgot to ask for thumbs up at the top of the show. I came straight over from the other show. I was all messed up. Atone for your sins, my friends. Man, St. Patrick's Day. Let's get some 140 likes. We got 1,300 people watching here. I mean, the ratio could not be more dismal. Don't have me use the trump card and ask Adam to get us to 500 likes today. We'll save that for a time where it's far more necessary. Although he kind of owes everyone for not showing up the other day. But hit that thumbs up. Hit that thumbs up. At least get us out to 300 here. We're way behind the 8 ball. Kneel down before the YouTube overlords. They expect us to get a certain amount of likes. Otherwise, they've told us they will shut our channel down. All right, let's keep going.
It sucks I overslept yesterday because all I wanted to do while I was out watching March Madness today was not show up. I was like, I can't do it 2 days in a row.
You really messed up. Yeah, and it's like it was an easy 5-game Thursday.
Yeah, it was horrible planning. Like
you could have sleptwalked through that show.
Right. Yeah, and then just save it for today. Like, sorry guys, I passed out at the bar and didn't remember I had a show.
Yeah, not a good plan. But you said you woke up like every hour last night.
Dude, I think I finally fell asleep around like 1 last night. I had trouble even falling asleep because like I just kept rolling over to check that my alarm was set and that my phone was charging. And then like I think I woke up at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it just kept being like, all right, yep, still don't need to get up. But
you do what it's so funny. You showed me that the screenshot of where you set like alarms 5 minutes apart from each other. I do this. I don't do it anymore because you know what's crazy? You know what my alarm clock is? My watch vibrates, no sound. My Apple Watch just vibrates on my wrist, wakes me up calmly and peacefully every morning. It was very scary the first couple of times. It actually happened accidentally. And
you actually wake up to that?
I was like, what the fuck is going on? What's going on with my wrist? And I thought my phone would go off because I just got the Apple Watch a few months ago, started sleeping with it. And yeah, dude, just like gentle vibrations on my wrist wakes me up. Pretty amazing.
I'd be scared to try that if it's a day that I have to wake up. I'd have to try it on like a Sunday and be like, see if I can wake up to this.
Yeah, it hasn't failed me yet. Just remember to charge yours. Ryan Houston, funny question. Do you think you could tell the difference between a Bud Light and a Miller Light in a blind taste test? We were literally just talking about this before the show started. Yes, I hate Miller Light. I like Coors. I love me.
Miller Light tastes different than Bud Light. If I had not had a drink yet and I had to do a blind taste test, I think I could tell the difference. I don't dislike Miller Light. I slightly prefer Bud Light, but I think I could tell the difference. If I've had like a few beers and you just give me one, I'm probably not going to notice.
Yeah, maybe he said I can't. Well, you know what? Maybe we'll do it one day on a show. We'll try it. We'll do Coors, Bud Light, and Miller Lite, and I'll find a way to make that work. KJ said, "Dog, who the fuck sleeps in a watch?" LMFAO. I do it because Josh Engelman told me to download an app that tracks your sleep, and I started doing it, and it's fantastic. That's
I did it with a Fitbit for a while, and then I, for whatever reason, stopped. And I should probably start doing that again. But
it's not uncomfortable or anything. It's not weird. It's it's like a rubber band. It's not
right.
It's not a Rolex band.
Yeah, that's how the Fitbit was too.
Right. You don't even notice it. Yeah. Anyway, all right. I'll try that sometime. I'll do Coors, Bud Light, and Miller Lite. We'll see. Both of us. We'll see if we.
I mean, how are we doing that on our own? You have to have somebody there to monitor what you're drinking, or
I'll put them down. Yeah. I'll have someone come up and mix them up, and I'll put a blindfold on.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like if I pour them, then I know which one it is.
Yeah. I'll have to have someone else with me. I'll have to have someone else come in the room, mix them up a little bit. All right. Talk about Minnesota, Chicago. Minnesota Timberwolves, 2.5-point dogs, 228-point total on the road. We'll kick it off with them here. Rudy Gobert, you talked to you. Who are we saying? Like if they get the minutes at that price, and we were comparing him to Christian Wood just in the terms of like playing time this morning. And you were saying how if Rudy Gobert gets those additional minutes at that price, you're going to very much wish you had him, or very much wish you didn't have him if he only plays like 29, 30 minutes.
Yeah, I compared him to Wood in that clearly the playing time floor for Rudy Gobert is higher than it is for Wood. But my comparison was like, if Rudy Gobert plays the 30 minutes that you're typically seeing from Minnesota's rotation these days, then he's good at 7K, but he's nothing special. It's just that if he happens to have that 36-minute game, you have to have him probably at 7K. He's about a 1.25 DraftKings point per minute guy since Mike Conley replaced D'Angelo Russell. That's not surprising. We expected it to happen. Conley knows how to play with Gobert. He's interested in working him into the offense, with which Russell apparently was not. So you're seeing more fantasy production. You've just seen fewer minutes from Gobert during that stretch, which I don't really know what to make of it. But Minnesota does need to win some games. So maybe there's always a chance that they play 34, 35 minutes of Gobert. And if that happens, you probably need him at 7K. If he plays 30 minutes, he still could easily be a guy that you need at 7K. So I like getting to him here. The rest of this team not getting much ownership, and it's just that the pricing is pretty much correct. Anthony Edwards at 9,200 still clearly has a ceiling, but there's no real discernible difference between like Anthony Edwards at 9,200, Donovan Mitchell at 9K. I would rather get to James Harden before either of them. So it's just, a situation where if you land on some Edwards at 5%, fine. Same goes for Kyle Anderson. He's playing big minutes when he's not in foul trouble. He's been extremely good this year from a real life standpoint, and he's also been good from a fantasy standpoint. But now that he's up to nearly 7K, outside of just saying like, oh yeah, he fits into this tournament lineup, hopefully he plays really well, there's not a lot of reason to want to get to him as far as like a priority goes.
Right. Super chat from Jet Wayman. Thanks, man. Member for 13 months using the free super chat. Favorite beer ? Great show and cheers to everyone. Yeah, that's a good St. Patrick's Day question, but I don't have an answer. If I'm at the beach, give me some Corona Lights. Big fan of Corona Lights.
Land shark at the beach. Land shark at the beach.
But land shark's actually like heavier than you'd think, right? I like land shark though. I like land shark. Not heavier. I shouldn't say that, but it's a lager, isn't it?
I think so.
Land shark's good. Yeah, it's not heavy.
Land shark's my preferred beach beer.
My wife likes the summer shandies.
I like summer shandies, and land sharks are my preferred
at the beach
or on a boat.
Yeah. I have those like land shark, those shitty coolers they give you. I got a bunch of those. I just have thrown in the basement. Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm just at a bar drinking beer for a prolonged period of time, it's Bud Light. Favorite IPA is probably Loose Cannon from Heavy Seas in Baltimore. I like Guinness, which is what I was drinking today, obviously. But it really depends on the situation.
Same. Yeah. If I'm out to lunch, I'm grabbing an IPA. If I'm just going for a beer, I'm grabbing an IPA.
Yeah. Loose Cannon's my one in that situation.
We have 3 local breweries in my town too, and they're all like awesome beers. So I any of those, but hazy, I enjoy a good hazy IPA.
Yeah, they're good. Have you had Loose Cannon?
I don't think I have.
I was I didn't know. I mean, I assume it's probably around you, but yeah, it's a Heavy Seas is a Baltimore brewery, but it's the first IPA I liked because for a while I didn't like IPAs, and people I bartended with got me to try Loose Cannon, and that kind of like got me going to where now I like IPAs in general, but Loose Cannon's still my favorite.
Okay. C Moss leaving 1,100 on the table. Is that too much on FanDuel? That was a super chat.
Yes.
And Steven Leibowitz, member for 23 months, almost got the 2-year badge. Let's go, brother. Okay, favorite bar eats also. And wings is the answer. Yeah, wings is a good answer, but like sometimes I don't feel like getting messy when I'm at a bar.
Right. So I had this conversation recently, like it was just boneless wings versus actual wings. And like I clearly prefer eating actual wings, but a lot of times at a bar I'll go boneless just so I don't end up with wings everywhere. Nachos obviously always good also.
Yeah, but like okay, so, but your boneless wings are basically just flavored chicken, like
chicken nuggets.
Chicken nuggets. Yeah.
Yeah, which I kind of prefer when I'm in public and not trying to like have sauce all over me.
Me too. Chicken fingers and fries with honey mustard is my go-to. Very simple.
Yeah, you feel like a child when you order it, but it's a very good order.
I don't care. Dude, I order chocolate milk when I go out to breakfast. Do you think I give a shit?
Wait, you guys make fun of me for drinking milk with cereal, and you go out to breakfast and order chocolate milk?
That's totally different. I'm not ordering cereal at breakfast.
No, you're just ordering something that 5-year-olds drink.
I take my daughter every Saturday with me, right? I've been taking her since she was 1. I take her to this amazing spot right down the street, and I get a small chocolate milk every single time with eggs Benedict, well done home fries, and a side of sausage. Sometimes I get a pancake with it.
A side of what?
Sausage. I was joking. Sausage.
Oh, okay. I really wanted that to be how you actually said that word.
No. Yeah, it gets the sausage. No, it's the best, man. Chocolate milk is the best. I feel like shit afterwards, but once in a while I go out. I treat myself a little bit. Yeah. You know what?
Unicorn Love said, Adam, have you ever had wings from Killing? I assume he said Killing's Tavern in Baltimore. I assume you mean Kissling's. And if you meant Kissling's, yes, it's my favorite wing place in Baltimore.
Last thing I'll say, and then we'll get back to basketball here. Okay. I do think people who prefer wings over the drumsticks are actually insane.
I prefer flats over drumsticks.
That's insane.
They're just easier to eat.
No, they're not. What do you mean? You got to stick your tongue through the bone to get them. Jordan, wait, stop. You are such a crude human being. I mean, everything.
Sorry you have trouble controlling your tongue. I'm pretty good with it. And,
dude, so you don't mind tonguing the wing bones to get that little tiny piece of chicken out when you could just crush the drumstick?
Yeah, no, I prefer flats.
But they're not easier to eat.
They are easier to eat. Drumsticks, like you end up having to like chew around the fat and stuff, like on like the knuckle.
You're nuts. You're an insane person. That's what I'm saying. Look at all these flat.
Josh is on your side, so can we just accept that I'm right?
Well, Josh, understand. Like the drum, dude, you grab it, bam, bam, you're done. You dip it in the blue cheese, first of all. If you don't like blue cheese on wings.
Yeah, blue cheese on wings.
Yeah, you're a madman if you don't like blue cheese. Don't give me this ranch over blue cheese shit. You can get out of here.
Ranch is also good, but blue cheese
is fine, but blue cheese is the gold standard.
Yes.
Chunky blue cheese.
Yeah. So that's the thing too. I never liked blue cheese, and the sports bar I used to work at had like great blue cheese, also great ranch, just great dressings. But then I was like, oh, blue cheese is the best. But then like I'll get blue cheese from some places and it sucks. But good blue cheese on wings is better than good ranch on wings.
Yeah, absolutely. Sports Wiz, Laffy confirmed not good with the oral skills. Well, fortunately, there aren't 2 skinny bones and chicken in a vagina, pal. So yeah, a little different there. Plus, prefer not to anyway. All right, let's talk a little bit of basketball. Chicago on at home. Oh, actually, what else with Minnesota? I think we talked about Gobert. Anything else for Chicago?
For Chicago?
For Minnesota, sorry.
Yeah, I mean Edwards and Anderson. If you get there, fine. If you get to some $4,100 Naz Reid and just hope Gobert gets in foul trouble, fine. But no, I mean I think Gobert is the only guy that really warrants any actual ownership from this team.
All right. By the way, Jordan, this poll is absurd. Flats are winning 42 to 40%, and 18% of people said boneless. Jesus, dude. As a civilization and society, we are lost.
We have way too many minors watching this show.
Yeah, that's exactly. They're like, where's the option for dino nuggets?
Right.
All right, let's talk about Chicago. Vooch, and apologies, friends. It's it's a holiday. We're having fun today. Chicago, Vooch, Drummond, Caruso, all in the double digits. DeRozan getting sub 1% right now. Highest priced out of, actually, no, him and Loughran are essentially the same price, but of those big three, Vooch is getting most of the love.
Yeah, and I think he should. He's just a little bit less expensive. You're getting around 34 minutes from him. You're getting like 36 to 38 from DeRozan and Loughran, but they are, just a little bit more expensive. You have the best positional eligibility on Loughran, so he's a little bit more popular than DeRozan, as he probably should be. But Vooch the only one really getting any ownership. So I like Loughran and DeRozan as contrarian plays, but Vooch is the only guy that I would see of those three as like a priority. You have Andre Drummond pulling 13% ownership, very similar to Ricky Rubio earlier, where he projects around 6x his salary. The problem is just if Vooch doesn't get in foul trouble and if this game goes according to plan, you can only really do so much in 13 to 14 minutes. And I really like playing guys like Drummond when he's, 3, 4, 5% owned. I like it a lot less when he's 12, 13%. And, even if you get that great outcome from him, you're still competing with, especially in larger field stuff, you're still competing with like thousands of lineups that have Andre Drummond. So that's not ownership I love. The Alex Caruso Q tag here is pretty big. If he's in and starting, 3,400 does offer some value there. He's likely to play around 26 minutes. Not a great point per minute guy, but at 3,400, no real issue. But if he's out, you're likely to get more minutes from a $3,700 White. You're likely to get more minutes from a $3,500 Dosunmu. You have the potential to get more minutes from a $3,900 Patrick Williams. So it does open up actually quite a bit if Caruso is out, even though he's not a big part of the offense.
Man, some good comments here. Appreciate you guys hanging out. I know you could be doing other things right now, but this takes priority for now. We had a 2-year super chat from our boy Malakar, one of our favorites, Malakar. Thanks guys for the best 2 years. I'm going to get Hall of Fame. Hell yeah, dude, you will. And if you try and get in the Hall of Fame, you just use the avatar, stokastic.com/avatar. Use it wherever it is you play. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. Tweet us your wins. It could be like the quarter arcade. It doesn't matter. As long as it's field of 5,000 or more, top 3, you're getting the free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. We're bragging for you during the Hall of Fame segment in between all this. It's a beautiful thing. So if you're not rocking the avatar, the new Stokastic avatar, what do you do? Right? That's as bad as eating boneless wings and thinking they're, the gold standard of wings. It's insane. Also, if you are in a situation where you're like, well, I would like to get in the Hall of Fame, but I haven't done so yet because it is tough. We can't just give everything away for free. You could do 50% off all of our tools, right? If you want to do NBA, you could do that for a week or a month, 50% off everything. You want to go all of our sports, you can get 50% off that legitimately for the week, for the month, whatever. Lineup generators, less than $4.50 a week for the first week. You want to do that for NBA. That's an awesome tool. People have been crushing with that. 1,000 different ways to run it. I will say this much though. And I said it this morning, if you've been on the fence and you're like, listen, 50% seems like a damn good deal, getting half off everything, no better time than now. March Madness, PGA, MMA, NASCAR, NBA in full swing, MLB coming up in less than 2 weeks, NHL, XFL, all of the overlap in sports right now. We have tools for everything, projections for all of them, ownership, player projections, top stack tool, boom bust tool, all the simulation tools, the lineup builder, lineup generator, you name it. Across the board, we got you covered. 50% off all of it. And these tools, right, built by, some of the, Alex Baker, Awesemo himself, one of the best DFS players in the history of DFS. Steve Buzzard behind the scenes. Dude just took down 200K the other day. So many of these guys that you may not see their faces, but you see their name with the Stokastic avatar at the top of the leaderboards, putting in work every day, every morning, every night into the projections and into the tools. So 50% off everything first week. Check it out. And if you have any questions, my DMs are open on Twitter. No problem helping you out with that. Did you put the link in the chat, Jordan, for lineup builder too? Because some people might not have a lot of time in life. They want to get easy lineups. That's less than 450 a week. All right. Let's keep it moving here. New Orleans, appreciate all you guys with using your free super chats today with some good comments, good conversation starters. Pels and Houston. Let's start it off with the Pels, 5.5-point favorites. Let's go to Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum at the top. I think you mentioned this morning that, like, hey, they're fine plays, but nobody really stands out as a stellar option today.
Yeah, I think McCollum and Ingram both look really good. 8,100 for Ingram, 7,700 for McCollum. No issues at all with those salaries. Good matchup as well. You got full minutes from Ingram in his last game also, which, great to see. Played like 37 and a half. But outside of those two guys, nothing that stands out. I do think Larry Nance is going a little bit overlooked, though. 3,500. And keep in mind, we're talking about a slate where Ricky Rubio at 3,100 is pulling 25% ownership in what is likely 20 minutes, give or take. Andre Drummond in 13 or 14 minutes is pulling like 13% ownership. Larry Nance, 3,500 with power forward eligibility, only pulling 6% ownership coming off of a game where he played 22 minutes. He has frequently closed games over Joval this year. The only reason that I'm somewhat hesitant on Nance is that I do think Jackson Hayes might have played himself into like 8 to 10 minutes a game while Nance was out. So then you get a weird split with Joval and Nance where like it's possible that Nance only plays 14 minutes, but there's a real chance that Nance plays 22 to 24 minutes here at $3,500 and nobody wants to play him because they're using Ricky Rubio and Andre Drummond.
Yeah. We talked about that at length today at that price point. Not a bad per minute guy. Great matchup against Houston. 3,500. I get it. Did you know Houston is the best rebounding team in the league?
I had no idea. Is that real?
I looked, unless I got that. It's possible that I had the filters wrong, but let me see. Hold on. Let me check again. Let me make sure I'm not filtering by a certain date. All right. Rebound rate. Yeah. Houston Rockets, 53.1% rebound rate. Best in the league.
People in chat keep saying boneless wings aren't wings. They're not wings. The only reason boneless wings exist is because people are too self-conscious, adults, to order chicken nuggets or chicken tenders. They think it makes them sound like a child. So restaurants call them boneless wings if you're an adult. That is what they are.
You're right. That's a good point. Just with except in this case, you can get them teriyaki, you can get them barbecue, you can get them.
You can get chicken tenders tossed in sauce.
Of course. I know.
Or chicken nuggets, whatever.
I have no shame ordering chicken fingers, at all.
Chicken tenders are one of my favorite hungover foods. And so if I actually am at a bar while I'm hungover, which normally I'm not because I just sleep, but the bar that I go to the most that I used to live above, I remember going down there one time and I ordered chicken tenders and one of the bartenders was like, did you actually just order chicken tenders? I was like, yes, because one, I'm not embarrassed. Chicken tenders are delicious.
It's delicious.
Yeah. And two, I can get them tossed in hot sauce and they're basically just giant boneless wings.
Right. That's such a silly thought process. It's like you can eat a wing that has a bone on it. It's actually, if you think about it, a bone-in wing is actually more for a child than anybody else because you're going to get messy as shit and have stuff all over your hands and face.
True. But if you could just order chicken nuggets and not feel like you're a 6-year-old at McDonald's, boneless wings would not exist.
No, they wouldn't. 6-year-old at McDonald's. Yeah, you're right.
Like the menu would just say wings, chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
Tossed in sauce.
It's so dumb, man. I have no shame in ordering what I like like I said, I order a small chocolate milk at breakfast and I feel
small might be the worst part there. I can never I order large anything.
No, because you know why though? It's just like if you eat a lot of chocolate milk's heavy.
Oh yeah.
And it's just like a ton of sugar and I get older, you crash from it. It's just like it.
No, I'm not even saying that you shouldn't order a small. I'm saying I'd be more likely to order a chocolate milk than a small drink.
I see what you're saying. But I do it because I used to order a large and I'd crush the whole thing even though I knew I shouldn't. And then I just didn't feel great. Dude, you crush a large chocolate milk with an eggs Benedict and home fries and sausage, you're not feeling great afterwards.
No,
So I've tried to do things in moderation. That's all. Steve McGee, member for 23 months. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Do you like Irish car bombs? Yeah, I mean, I don't do them frequently, but I'll do an Irish car bomb.
I am very bad at I think I've said this before. I know you know it. I'm very bad at taking shots. Like, I can't chug beer. I'm bad at taking shots. Irish car bombs scare the hell out of me because I'm very confident it's going to curdle by the time I finish.
I was going to say, if you're slow at it, don't do it. Like, if you
No.
can't chug, don't even buy. Oh, you'll get halfway down and your stomach will hurt or you'll puke.
Yeah, no, I avoid those. I avoid most shots, but like I can be talked into it if you're persuasive.
Not an Irish car bomb.
Which you were not in Chicago. But yeah, no, Irish car bombs are just a no.
Houston's kind of a fun team to talk about today because you've got nobody pulling ownership, but Kevin Porter Jr. has played 38 and 39 minutes in regulation over his last 2 games. I looked this up today, 93 touches per game over this, just insane amount. He's dominating possessions, even with Şengün back in the offense. I'm not saying these guys are all priorities, but in tournaments, I can't help but look at some of the salaries and go, they're getting no ownership and they're not, you mentioned this morning, they're not tanking to the extent that they're playing. They just beat the Lakers in Boston in back-to-back contests.
And they went out of their way to do it. This isn't like isn't like they played Kevin Porter 30 minutes and then they went to Josh Christopher, but they still accidentally beat Boston. They played them like 40 minutes across the board in that game.
In order to win. Minutes. Yeah.
Right. They played huge minutes against Lakers. This team is playing to win. And Josh had made this point on a show recently and Josh clearly knows a lot more about the lottery rules and shit than I do because I don't really care. But he had made the point that he didn't think teams were going to tank that hard this year because it's pretty clear who the bottom 4 teams are. And there's not that much of a benefit anymore to being like the worst. You just need to be in that group. And so you're seeing Houston get their you're seeing Houston get their guys actual minutes in competitive games. This is another one of those teams where I understand why they're low owned in the sense that there's plenty of plays on the slate that project slightly better and look slightly better. But knowing that you can get mid-30s in minutes from a $6,900 Alperen Şengün at 4% owned when Rudy Gobert very easily could play 30 minutes at 4 times the ownership. So like 4 times the ownership, a couple minutes less is a very real outcome. I like Şengün. Porter at 7,500, 6% owned. So he's $100 more than Darius Garland. Garland looks better. Garland's also getting 2 to 3 times the ownership. Give me some Kevin Porter. Same goes for Jalen Green at 7K. KJ Martin at 5,300 is playing a bunch of minutes. The only starter that I actually think is correctly priced is Jabari Smith at 6,800. He can still give you a big game, but you're at least paying for it. He's playing a lot of minutes now too. You're seeing 36 consistently. Tari Eason has gone back to taking a little bit of a back seat now that the starters are playing huge minutes, but even he has a ceiling because the nice thing about him is if Jabari Smith gets in foul trouble, if Alperen Şengün gets in foul trouble, if KJ Martin gets in foul trouble, next guy up in any of those situations is Tari Eason, who's a 1.1 fantasy point per minute guy. So at 4,900, if he only plays 20 minutes, you don't want that. But if anybody gets in foul trouble, Tari Eason stepping into more minutes at 1% owned, I love just mixing in one of these Houston guys in tournament lineups.
Yeah, it just makes sense today. And none of them are insanely overpriced. Loco 4 said, every time I drink chocolate milk, I paint the toilet. Yeah, I wouldn't do it then. I was listening to Bert Kreischer on Shane Gillis's podcast yesterday, taking the dog for a walk, and he was saying that he painted the toilet so bad recently that he had to wipe his legs, Alex. That's when you know things have gotten out of control. All right, 3 games to go. We got 10 minutes, so we'll try to be expedient where we can. That's not going to work with Memphis, though. Actually, it might, because how much in depth do we really need to get here? DraftKings completely botched pricing on Memphis today, priced all of them down considerably from where they were literally 3 days ago. Some of them are down over $1,000 from where they were just a couple of games ago. And it's not like this is a Miami or Cleveland matchup or a slow pace. This is the San Antonio Spurs, the worst defense in the league. You could just close your eyes and probably pick the right Memphis Grizzlies tonight on DraftKings and FanDuel too.
It's the most mispriced team across the board. Desmond Bane's price tag's down like $1,000 from a few games ago, just in time for a matchup against the worst team in the league. Jaren Jackson at 7,300, getting backup center minutes in addition to increased usage from John Morant being out. He's about 1.2 DraftKings points per minute without Morant. He looks really good. Tyus Jones at 6,700 looks good. Those 3, I think, are the clear priorities here. But you can get to some $5,200 Xavier Tillman, You can get to some 5K Dylan Brooks. You can get to some $3,900 Aldama. There's a lot to like from this team in a fantastic matchup.
Yeah. I don't really think there's any argument to be made against a lot of these guys. You don't have to love everybody, but yeah, Aldama 3,900, Bane 74, Jackson down to 7,300 in a phenomenal spot. How many are you still thinking like 3 though to a lineup would be the most comfortable spot here instead of going crazy?
Yeah, I mean, it's still an 8-game slate. I'll probably still keep it at like 3.
Yeah. Like, do we really need to say much more on Memphis though? Just want to make sure before we
No, the whole
on.
team just looks good.
Yeah.
Like the top 3 are definitely Bane, Jackson, Jones, but Tillman, Brooks, Aldama also look fine. If you want to get to a little bit of David Roddy at 3,800, 6% owned. I'd rather go to Larry Nance in that price range at similar ownership, but like Roddy probably shouldn't be 1/4 the ownership of Ricky Rubio. They're playing similar minutes.
Is that your first beer today, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay. You seem loosened up a little bit.
Yeah, I definitely didn't go watch basketball for the entire time between my.
I don't know. You seem to be having some fun tonight, man. You seem to be enjoying yourself.
Yeah, it's because I had yesterday morning off. I'm just refreshed.
That's it. Yeah. Just a great host of this show too. Makes things easy on you.
Yeah, it's the bright green color. It just brings out the energy.
You're just pissed you don't have a sweatshirt that has your last name on it for a bar.
That is true.
I have to tell you a story about this shirt. So I can't say it on air because it doesn't paint me in the greatest light. But one day I'll tell you a story after the show. You can tell me if it's appropriate or not. San Antonio Spurs.
That'd be more fun if you told it on the show and I could tell you if it was appropriate.
I don't think I can.
Jordan's like, please don't.
I will, because there was that Washington Post article that aired all the laundry anyway. So I had some issues back in the day, right? Considerable substance abuse issues.
Yeah, I've referenced them on the show before.
I accidentally walked into an NA meeting once wearing an Irish pub shirt. And I'm wondering why everyone's staring at me. And this was years, wondering why everyone's staring at me. And I looked down, I'm like, oh fuck, I am such an asshole. Like all these people.
Did you mean to be at the NA meeting?
What?
Did you mean to be at the NA meeting, or did you walk in by accident entirely?
Oh no, I was in the right place.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that's the worst part. You got someone that's like, hey, I'm Billy. I've got 12 hours clean. And I'm just like, yeah, all right.
It sounds great, an Irish pub.
All right, Spurs, what are we doing with San Antonio today?
Not a lot, but I do think that there are some solid tournament plays. You have no Devontae Graham, so I expect Trey Jones to remain in the starting lineup at 5,100. He's pulling 16% ownership, probably plays around 28 minutes, looks fine there. Jeremy Sohan's still pretty inexpensive at 5,600. So those two guys are getting ownership, and I think they should. I don't know why people don't want to play Zach Collins. He's getting 5% ownership. He's 6,500. He's giving you 28 to 30 minutes, barring foul trouble. He's facing a Memphis front court that clearly still has Jaren Jackson, but is missing Steven Adams. I know Josh referenced it recently that they've been really bad at rebounding without Adams. There's a very high ceiling for Zach Collins here. Keldon Johnson and Devin Vassell, both correctly priced, both give you high ceilings, but at no ownership, but pretty much correctly priced. But I think Sohan and Jones are the first guys you get to here, and I do like Collins as a contrarian play.
All right, let's talk about Boston. Paul said, why would he worry about that story? Well, because I'm Aaron Long. It's kind of weird. It was many, many, many years ago, but still, it's a weird thing to be talking about.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure everybody already knows at least some semblance of your past.
That's why I said it. That's why I said, like, if they didn't, I probably wouldn't tell that story.
Right. Yeah. I'm
not saying it's a bad story. I'm just saying.
No. But like, if that was how you just like broke the news that you used to have some issues.
Yeah. So by the way, wore this into, yeah. Right. All right, Boston and Portland. Almost forgot. Yeah, we've got Ryan, many years ago.
NA, not AA.
Yeah, we're cured. We're cured. I mean, look, I'm not the one sleeping through shows in the morning. You know what I mean? We should have an intervention.
No, you're the one that has to take a nap because you had a beer at lunch.
No, that's not how it went down at all. But we don't have time for this shit. No house advantage. If you haven't checked them out yet, $100 first match deposit bonus up to $100. You deposit 100, your account shows 200. Deposit 50, it says 100. Legitimately, 100% deposit bonus up to $100. You can 21x your entry when you 5X playing against the house. It's fantastic. Not only that, they have the Pick'em contest as well. We had a guy on our chalkboard channel the other day. We just started up a new betting chat and all that stuff. It's free to download. Not only that, but it's just free to use. Like all the picks, all the conversation, never charge you for shit in there. Chalkboard app, download it and find OddsShopper, or maybe it's in the link below. But someone yesterday showed me, he's like, usually I only put 5 entries into this. I put 10 into it because it overlay. The contest closed at 44%. So they're pick'em contests where you're just taking your favorite props. The lines are wildly off, by the way, in the pick'em contest. Like you can find PRA props that on DraftKings are 10 points lower than other ones. It's insane. The ones you like the most go at the top. They get the most points. It's you're playing against the field for cash money, or you play against the house. Take your favorite props. Use all of our tools specifically built for No House Advantage over on Stokastic.com and get in that way. Literally just they're hand fed, they're spoon fed to you. All of the props. You just sort by expected win rate because there's no juice on either side. Whether it's pick 'em or against the house, 21x your entry, or you want to go 4, you 11x, you 5x on 3. A lot of different ways to do it, especially if you guys, some of you in non-legal betting states, no better way to scratch the itch. You're getting the deposit bonus. You're getting the tools over at Stokastic. Check it out. Link in the description and in chat. No House Advantage, sponsor of the Deeper Dive. All right. I'm not surprised we're up against it because we've kind of just completely gone off the rails. We're also 156 likes away from 500 with 1,800 people watching. If you'd be kind enough, please take for Lieutenant Daniels, right, Adam?
Yeah. That was after we talked, like after that conversation this morning. That, I mean, obviously it sucked to see anyway, but it was pretty crazy after talking about The Wire randomly for 10 minutes before the show.
We talked about The Wire forever with Jacob producing the show, and then like an hour after you DM me that,
yeah.
That he died.
Also, Bosch, which I think is an underrated show.
Oh yeah, that's right. Boston, Tatum's going to play. At least he said he is. Robert Williams out. Marcus Smart questionable. With Tatum in, is there anything you like from this team, assuming Smart plays?
Assuming Tatum and Smart both play, there's nothing that stands out. That's not to say don't play guys from Boston. Like in turn, this is just another one of those teams that nobody's getting any ownership. There's a good chance that one of the 6 relevant pieces on this team do well, but they all look pretty similar relative to salary. So we have Derek White being the most underowned, but any of Tatum, White, Brown, Smart, Brogdon, Horford are perfectly fine in tournaments. They just aren't priorities.
What about on Portland then? The Jeremy Grant thing is kind of significant here. You had some great points on Nurkic potentially getting more minutes if Jeremy Grant is out because Watford play alongside of him instead of using a 3-man center rotation.
Yeah, if Grant is in, I am nervous about the minutes for Nurkic because we have seen Watford, I think, just play his way into the rotation. And it makes me think that you could see a center rotation that consists of Nurkic plus Eubanks plus Watford. If Grant is out, you know you're getting the bulk of those minutes from Watford alongside Nurkic, which means that Nurkic can play more. Regardless of Grant's status, I think Anthony Simons is going overlooked. He is $6,200. This is somebody that for most of the season has played huge minutes. They stagger him with Damian Lillard. He played 34 and a half minutes last game. There's no real reason to be worried about this injury anymore, and the price tag clearly is factoring that in. So I think Simons, one way or the other, looks very, very good at basically no ownership. He's 5% owned. I think he's going under-owned. Certainly looks a little bit better if Grant is out, just because you take a relatively high usage guy out of the lineup. But either way, I really like Simons in tournaments. Lillard, always happy to get to him at 10-3. It becomes a little bit more difficult on this slate because you do have so many underpriced guards, but never going to tell anybody not to play Dame.
Here we go. Close it out. Dallas Lakers. Then we turn this one over to Live Before Lock. It's going to be a good show. I'm not sure it could be nearly as good as this, just being completely honest. I wouldn't say this is a Rushmore episode, Mount Rushmore, but this is up there, Adam. This is a good one today. And I'm just happy that you're not miserable. Maybe you are, but you've done a good job of concealing it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. After how well this show has gone, I think that the powers that be should just start throwing me a bar tab for every 2 to 5 p.m.
Greg and Neil coming up next. Let's wrap this one up. Dallas. Do we have Irving news yet?
He went through shoot around, but I think he's gone through shoot around each of the last 2 games also.
Yeah. So I mean, if he plays, you're not playing Jaden Hardy at 7,300, Tim Hardaway 6,600, Maxi Kleber. Most of this team right now, as it currently stands, is getting like zero ownership at all.
Yeah, and I mean, if Kyrie and Hardaway are in, they probably should not get much ownership. If you want to get to some Kyrie, that's fine. It's very similar to Dame. He's going to play a bunch of minutes, I assume, as long as he's not limited, and clearly have the offense run through him. Hardaway's got a decent ceiling at 6,600, but if Irving is in, clearly Irving's going to be the priority. Christian Wood's salary has come up. Josh Green's salary has come up. Jaden Hardy's salary has come up a ton. If Kyrie and Hardaway are out, Hardy is still playable at 7,300, but the problem you're going to run into, as opposed to him being a priority like he was the last couple of games, is that he's like the same price as Darius Garland. And at this point, it's just like, all right, well, Darius Garland's playing the same minutes and he's a hell of a lot better at basketball than Jaden Hardy. So you're going to have him, like you have Klay Thompson, who's less expensive than Hardy now. Christian Wood, if both Kyrie and Hardaway are out, you could certainly see 24, 25 minutes again, just because they need somebody to score. But on DraftKings, he's still only a center, so you do still have a high opportunity cost there at 6,700. But he is about a 1.5 fantasy point per minute guy without them on the floor. So very high ceiling, but prices have really caught up on Dallas.
They really have. And maybe, I mean, I doubt we'll get news doing live before lock, but sometimes that happens, you know. So like Irving the other day said, doesn't look good, and then we had a feeling that he wasn't going to play. He ended up not playing. So who knows? Maybe we'll get something there. Wrap us up with the Lakers, Adam. Anything else you have here? Oh, and one super chat. Also, thank you, Jorge, for all of those gifted memberships. You are the man. Jorge just gifted 20 memberships. Happy St. Patty's Day, man. And Manny C, member for 23. Man, we got a lot of 2-year members. Have a great weekend, boys. You too. And then last super chat was a $10 super chat from Avi. What's up, Avi? Is Embiid hungover from his birthday? Does Embiid drink?
I don't think so.
I thought he only did the Shirley's. Now,
yeah,
listen.
I think he's on the Chad Ochocinco Shirley Temple plan.
I'll say this: I'll order chocolate milk. I'll order chicken fingers. Not sure I can go into a bar. I mean, if you're Joel Embiid, you go to whatever the fuck you want. I'm not sure I go into a bar and order a Shirley Temple. That may be where I draw the line. I mean, would you?
Probably not.
And then he asked, "Is Hayward a good play?"
Who? Oh, Hayward. He's fine. Like any of the Charlotte starters are going to play a lot of minutes. They're just not. They don't stand out at their salaries, but any of them, if you just land on them, are fine.
All right, close us out with the Lakers here before we turn this one over.
Anthony Davis looks good if you can get there. Center only on DraftKings, power forward on FanDuel, so a little bit easier there. But if you can get to him, great. There are plenty of good center plays for less, but Anthony Davis should just dog this Dallas team. Outside of that, nothing really. Like D'Angelo Russell's salary came up. I don't see anything else.
Yeah, this could be a blow-up spot for AD, but yeah, you're right. Aside from that, it's ugly. Peter H., welcome to Team Stokastic. Yeah, you can join down below. Like I said, guys, 50% off everything. No better time than right now. Every sport outside of like football is happening right now. You don't even have to know the sports if you still want to use the tools and win some money. So links down there, links in chat, lineup generator, 50% off everything. No House Advantage, our new chalkboard app. We'd love you to come hang with us. It's free. We're going to be giving out some free shit as well. Appreciate you. You're the best. Have a great St. Patty's Day. Stay safe this weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday. Peace. Yo, it's that time of week again where we're inducting you fine people into the Stokastic Hall of Fame and giving away some monthly subscriptions to everything on our site, all of our tools right here, just by rocking the Stokastic avatar, finishing top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, and tweeting your wins to @Stokastic Hall of Fame. You're getting the free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. You're getting inducted right here. All you got to do is go to stokastic.com/avatar. Rock that avatar wherever it is you play. Tweet your wins at Stokastic Hall of Fame, and we're in business. Just like Ryan did. How do I go about getting that free membership? Thanks for this content, guys. Congrats, man. $4,800 win right there in the fadeaway. Love to see that. Third place. And then, how about Arnold? He was on here twice last week. He's on here again this week with a much bigger win than both of those in the 60K mini max. Boom. Thanks, guys. First place in the mini max. $3,600 going to Arnold. Congrats, man. Keep that heater going. And Mitchell King was on here last week as well. Hit another one. Moved up to the $1 tournament this time. See, you just keep moving up, man. Then you get those free tools, right? You get the free month. And then you can use them wherever it is you play, no matter the stakes. $2,000 in the end one. Congrats, Mitchell. Keep that going. An ugly 8 game. We've seen him on here plenty of times. Thanks to the great content, Stokastic NBA, and timely news from, yes, the news guy, DFS. Even I can win a free month of Stokastic Platinum. Congrats, dude. And how about Gary Encarnacion? Missed first place by just 1 rebound. I'll take it. $400, second place in the NBA shop. Followed up by Samuel Johnson. Had a nice evening. Again, the mini max. And remember, doesn't matter if you're playing $1 entry, quarter, nickel, $20 entry, as long as it's top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. That is literally all that matters. And you're rocking the Stokastic avatar. Make sure to update it too. Get that new fresh one that you see up here. Samuel Johnson, $283 in the mini max, first place. And then you have Paco, 4OU, $250. My dedication to following the Stokastic Live Before Lock shows pays off. Not a monster score, but not a bad takedown for a quarter investment. There it is. Again, $250 on a quarter. Congrats, man. And Skimmer, to wrap this one up, thanks to Greg Ehrenberg and Neil Orfield for the LBL last-minute advice for third place. Appreciate you. LFG, 4K daily dollar, third place, $125. Congrats to all of you. Remember, download the avatar. Use it wherever it is you play. Hit us up at Stokastic HOF and get that free month. Get inducted into the Hall of Fame.
What is going on, everybody? Greg Ehrenberg here from Stokastic. It's time for another NBA Live Before Lock Friday. Eric has the day off, which means that I am here with the flannel god himself, Neil Orfield, to break down an NBA slate. The super chats already flowing in. We appreciate all your guys' support. And an easy way to support the show is liking the video and subscribing to the YouTube channel. But Neil, what's going on with you? How's your day going?
It's going well. As I was just mentioning before the show, I went out yesterday. So yesterday I actually took the day off, but then had to do in an XFL VOD, which I was like, that's fine. I'll just do that in the morning, get it done. And it ended up taking me like 8 hours. So I was supposed to meet my friends at a bar at 1 o'clock. I ended up meeting them just after 6 and still drank way too much yesterday. So I have a beer next to me right now. I'm still not quite ready to drink it though.
Neil in his the hat, you can tell a little bit. The hat's not quite on straight. The glasses are a little crooked. Maybe the flannel's a little off center. So we've got Neil coming off a bender as far as Neil is concerned. Very similar to Shit My Money, Adam last show, who also appeared to have a few drinks in him as he headed into the show. And I mean, my day's been very exciting. I went to go get blood work done, and apparently you have to bring in a written copy of your blood work when you go there, because I now have to get blood work done monthly per my doctor. So I'd asked, all right, how do I get the script for the blood work? And he said he would email it to me. So he emailed it to me. I figured I could bring the emailed script into Quest to get my blood work done. I bring it in, I show it to her, and the lady says to me, no, you have to bring in an actual hard copy version. It can't be an email version, or else we don't know if it came from the doctor. You could have made it up yourself. As if there are people who are just fabricating blood work documents, right, to leisurely go into Quest and pay $60 to get blood drawn from them for whatever reason. So super annoying, because I actually need to get blood work done before next week. And now I'm going to have to go do it on a Saturday instead. But I need to know the story now of what happened at a Quest that they changed that policy, that they don't allow the electronic versions of scripts anymore.
That's so dumb. To me, the electronic version would be safer, right? Like,
you would think. And then also they had a printer right there. So I was like, this is easy. Can I use your printer to print it out? And she goes, no, because we can't. It's our printer. What if I emailed it to you and you printed it out? Then if I can't use it, she goes, no, we're not legally allowed to give out our email addresses. So like, this is the dumbest thing, just the dumbest thing ever. Complete waste of some of my afternoon.
Yeah, that's dumb.
So that's what I had going on this afternoon. In addition to a whole bunch of content, I put out an MMA video. I did some betting stuff. I've been hanging out in our chalkboard channel and sweating some of the NCAA games. If you guys aren't in chalkboard yet, totally free. Lofty and I have been in there a lot the last couple of days. We're sweating out bets with the people in there. We're posting some of our own bets. It's free to join the app. It's free. Well, it's free to download the app. It's free to join our channel in the app. Just click on the link below. You'll get additional betting information from us, and you get to hang out with Lofty and I a little bit more over the course of the day. But enough of that. We've got an NBA slate. We've got super chats here waiting for us, and we've already got some news as well. Already got some news on the table, which unfortunately, Avi Schreier left us a super chat and said, if Steph is out and the Warriors blow out the Hawks, who you like, 1 starter, 2 starters from Golden State. So we left that super chat, and then maybe 30 seconds later, we found out that Steph Curry is now on track to play. So Avi, if you have another question, it doesn't have to be a super chat. Just throw it into YouTube chat and I'll answer it for you, because I don't want to make it seem like you just spent your money on nothing, but Steph is now expected to play. So I can't really say what happens if Steph is out, because it's not going to be the case, it looks like, anymore. Like I said, Abby, throw another question into YouTube chat and I will be answering some of those. We've also got here our guy Jorge Giacomi gifted out 20 YouTube memberships. We appreciate the support. Jorge, always hanging out in the chat. Big baseball guy. We got baseball starting up in not too long. Looking forward to that. I know Neil is going to be covering some baseball content for us. I'm sure Jorge is looking forward to that as well. So Jorge, thank you for gifting out the memberships to everybody. We do appreciate all of the support. And then we've got our normal questions too. This one from Ace of Spade and Hannah Banana. They're asking their normal DK Tiers questions. We'll read these off. Ace of Spade, DK Tiers, thanks again. And God bless you, Greg. Thank you, Ace of Spade. And then Hannah Banana, DK Tiers, please 3x my money last night. Thanks. Ooh. But I tell you, we've been answering these tiers questions, or I have. Eric refuses to answer them. It's totally beneath him.
I know.
But I've been answering these tiers questions, and people have been digging it. I've been seeing some tweets about it, people tweeting at me, some nice comments in the YouTube chat. So I've got my lineups built out here for tiers. I'll read it out to you guys. For Hannah Banana and for Ace of Spade, tier 1, Joel Embiid is the option tonight. Really far removed, the projection, him compared to AD, Jason Tatum, the other players in this tier. Tier 2, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with this one, because Steph Curry is the one who projects by far the best for me, but I didn't know if he was going to play or not. Lucky enough, looks like he's going to play now. Maybe that questionable tag on DraftKings could also lower his ownership a little bit, but Steph Curry in tier 2. Tier 3, James Harden. That is the man who stands out the most to me. Tier 4 is really tight. There's a lot of good options in this one. Brandon Ingram, Nikola Vucevic, Kristaps Porzingis. My favorite of the bunch is Ingram, but I think this is one that's really tight. If you wanted to pivot and go with Vooch, you want to go with Porzingis, I think that's perfectly viable. Tier 5 is CJ McCollum for me, with the with Pelicans still being shorthanded. And then tier 6, we've got Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. to me as options 1 and options 1A. I have a slight lean towards Desmond Bane, but a lot of upside in Jaren Jackson Jr. with the ongoing Ja Morant situation, keeping him out for another game. But Desmond Bane is going to be my choice there. The other thing too, Jaren Jackson Jr., who we could talk about in a second here, is going to be very popular tonight. Historically, Neil, Jaren Jackson Jr. chalk nights, they could go many, many ways, because he's a very high variance player. He's a great points per minute fantasy producer. You know what the issue with points per minute is? If you foul 4 times in 6 minutes, it lowers those minutes. But I think this is an interesting talking point, just because he is one of the more popular plays on the slate. How do you view Jaren Jackson Jr. relative to his ownership? Because we haven't really had very many chalk Triple J spots lately.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's also, by the way, an away game. So that takes away like 4 blocks for Jaren Jackson Jr. tonight from his projection. What do we have him at? We've got JJJ at 33% ownership. Honestly, that feels about right to me. So our boom bust, for some reason right now, is not showing optimal odds. I don't know why
it's getting
not
refreshed at the second.
Okay, it's just being refreshed as we're speaking. I just noticed that it was not okay. Now it is looking good. So looking at the boom bust, do we have him down at 26% now? Looks like we may have dropped down his ownership a little bit. 26%, he's pretty interesting. We do have him booming now 33% of the time, optimal 24% of the time. So slight negative leverage there, but man, that's just the price is right. I could not believe looking at it today, the big price drops on Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond Bane for this matchup with the Spurs. Like that's just a clear misprice. And of course the field is going to notice that. So Honestly, I think it feels about right. Like, I don't think that I want to get too far off what the field is doing with Jaren Jackson Jr. at 26%. How are you feeling about it?
Here's my hope. Who is going to get him in foul trouble from the Spurs, right? If there's any spot that he should not be fouling people immediately, like we had our guy, Sandro, Mamu Kavalishvili the other day starting, who we dubbed Mommy. When they got guys like that playing extended minutes, like what is the risk of Jaren Jackson Jr. really getting into foul trouble? Yeah. Shouldn't this be a spot? If there's any team where you could feel pretty good that Triple J isn't going to get in foul trouble, this is the team. Like, I know that Keldon Johnson's healthy now and Devin Vassell is healthy. This is not exactly a team that I would expect to be, parading to the free throw line. So I'm going to be playing chalk Triple J, and I hope this is a spot where you could avoid some foul trouble. Let me look. Where was I at on Triple J in the last run that I did prior to the show starting? I ended up coming out with Triple J in about half my lineups or so. And depending what other kind of value opens up, I feel pretty good about that. How relative to ownership do you think you'll end up being about even with Triple J, underweight or overweight?
If I had to guess, I'll be probably slightly over. Like, I'll be about even, but maybe a little bit over.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's it's always whenever there's a Triple J starting, whenever there's a Triple J chalk spot, it's always kind of hard to know what to do, but this is one of the times that I am going to be playing him for sure. Thaddeus Brown, this feels like a math question. If a player's standard deviation is 10.49, what's his randomness?
Oh my God. That is not a question for me.
I mean, I don't like, what are you measuring randomness by? Right? Like, are you like 6? Like, I don't even know. I don't know exactly what it is that he wants us to answer.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know how to answer that question.
Yeah. What is his randomness?
I think you could, is Peter Viles in chat? Maybe Peter can answer, because I know he uses.
But I also just don't know exactly.
Yeah, I don't totally understand the question either.
Not exactly sure what he wants us. I mean, I know that there's some sort of it. He doesn't. It's not a math question where he knows the answer and he's quizzing us. I'm just a little curious exactly what it is that you're looking for there, Thaddeus Brown. Also, I'm curious what player it is that you're talking about. Let's see some more super chats that we have coming in here. This one is from. Well, another one from Avi Schreier. I told you, Avi, you could just ask questions. You didn't have to leave us another super chat. But he did say Gordon Hayward has had a tendency to go off versus Philadelphia. I don't really put too much weight into that. Let me look at what I have. I'm not really getting to Gordon Hayward today. This is also a spot. Number one, it's a really difficult defensive matchup for the Charlotte Hornets against the 76ers. And then another thing, too, there's some decent blowout risk with the Sixers being favored by double digits. But Hayward, he's a little bit overpriced in my opinion. I've got him projected for less than 30 fantasy points, and he's $6,400 on DraftKings on an 8-game slate with what I expect will be a decent amount of value options. I'm not really getting to Gordon Hayward. Have you built out any lineups where you're getting to Hayward? Do you have any opinions on him?
I don't have any strong opinions on him. Not somebody I've really been thinking about much. 6,400. The price tag's a little bit high. He's playable. Like, I'll say that 1.4% projected ownership. I'd say he's playable, but not like any kind of priority for me.
One of the first bets I made this morning, and I posted it in our chalkboard channel also. Actually, I bet under 4.5 assists for Gordon Hayward at plus money this morning. I don't know what that number is now. You can go check it. But it's just funny. The first individual player we got asked about in a super chat is the first player I made a bet on today, and it wasn't under.
Yeah.
Let me check what that Gordon Hayward prop is now. I'll go look at NBA Bet Pro and just pull up all of the different lines that we have for every single player and see where it's at. Hopefully I got some closing line value at least. That would be nice. If not, then it means that the public and the bettors are more on the side of Avi and Gordon Hayward. See in a second as this loads. But the next super chat, as I check on that, James Hood. I don't usually follow foul trouble or blowout narratives, but it's hard to ignore with Embiid. Is Kai Jones worth a look in a FanDuel GPP? Is Kai Jones, but you are going way too far off the board, in my opinion. Way too far off the board. I gave Kai Jones 14 minutes. The other thing, too, is like, does Kai Jones even have to be the guy that plays in garbage time? He played 16 minutes last game, and he got the garbage time run. I don't know that they could play Nick Richards in garbage time as well. We have not seen Kai Jones play more than 18 minutes in a single game this year. Oh, no, that's not true. He played 20 back in December 9th.
We haven't projected for a 17.7. Think that's high?
Yes. I mean, Nick Richards could get in foul trouble or the blowout risk is also possible. But I mean, that's so far off the board to play somebody today, I think, with Kai Jones. You know where he would make sense? If this was a 3-game slate where we're lacking for value or something like that. Because the other thing, too, is Kai Jones is basically only playing in garbage time for the most part, and he's been shit as a fantasy producer this year. He's playing 9.5 minutes per game and averaging 7 fantasy points. So if you take those per minute averages, let's just get crazy. Let's say that Kai Jones plays 20 minutes today. You still end up with him with less than 15 fantasy points.
We also we haven't projected for 6% ownership on FanDuel.
That seems like a lot to me.
Yeah.
I mean, if the field's doing it, sure. It's not like you're alone in this question here, Keone Hunter. Or no, that was James Hood's question. Keone's the next one I have lined up. But I'm not going to be playing Kai Jones today. Is he somebody you're contemplating?
So I'm not playing FanDuel. And yeah, FanDuel, he's also only center eligible at 3,500. He is a stone min, but I don't think I would get there unless in a 150 set, maybe a handful. Again, I'm only playing DraftKings. I'm playing 21 lineups. I will not be playing Kai Jones. I don't think it's the worst player you could play in a large field GPP, but literally only the largest field GPP. I agree with you that it's kind of it's clearly a long shot play. Could go very wrong. So in the largest field GPP, if you're playing 150 lineups, I have no issue. If you want to play a handful, take that chance, but I'm not playing him tonight.
By the way, the Gordon Hayward update, it is now minus 104 on the under for 4.5 assists. So I got a little bit of closing line. A little bit of closing line value there. I always like to see that. Keone Hunter, his super chat is, which Jones brother do you like the most relative to price on FanDuel? Ooh, okay. So Tyus Jones or Trey Jones. Let's see. Tyus Jones or Trey Jones. Pull up the lineups I have on FanDuel. And who do I like better? Also, I'm going to check the ownership to see if that's changed. One thing that I shouldn't have done was close the ownership tab to go check to see if I closing line value or not on. But I was really curious because we got the question and I should have just opened up a new tab, but that's not what I did. Instead, what I did was close the tab that was actually important to me to get information that was important to myself and nobody else that is watching this show. All right. So
I have it open. Okay.
So the Jones brothers, we've got Tyus Jones, who's one of the best value plays right now on FanDuel. He is projected for also a ton of ownership at 46%. And then we've got Trey Jones. So Trey Jones is projected for 15% ownership at 6,000. I actually like both of them. It depends what scenario we're talking about. Relative to ownership, I like Trey Jones a little bit more. If this is a cash game or who I think scores more fantasy points, it's Tyus Jones. He's just super popular on FanDuel, projected to be in nearly 50% of the field's lineups. So depends what exactly they're asking for. And let me just read that again. He just said, which Jones brother do you like most relative to price? So if it's just relative to price, then the answer is Tyus Jones.
Yeah. Yeah,
not
factoring ownership. But really, you should just play them both and assume that all their teammates are just going to watch the Jones brothers show, the whole game. They're just going to be sparring, shooting every time. Just play them both.
Yeah, you get the sibling rivalry. Correlate the Joneses together.
Exactly. They both went to my high school. I got to say that every time the names come up. Yeah,
I did know that, but only because you said it a few days ago. Or else
I say it every time the name comes up.
And we just got news that Lamar Stevens is going to be starting in place of Jared Allen. And then also just to reiterate, Steph Curry and Kevon Looney are expected to play today. The next super chat we have is from Boss Anova. Boss Anova. Which Memphis player should I target in cash? Which I'm going to assume you mean DraftKings because I know more people play on DraftKings than FanDuel, but I'll do it for both sites just to be clear. For actually, I think it might be the same across both sites. But for DraftKings, Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr. are the two most popular players on the slate. You should be playing them in cash. The same goes for Tyus Jones and Santi Aldama. I would actually play all four of those in a cash game on DK. I'd play Aldama, Tyus Jones, Desmond Bane, and Jaren Jackson Jr. on FanDuel. Here, so there are going to be some different players. Tillman is projected for north of 50% ownership on FanDuel. He should be in a FanDuel cash lineup. Same with Tyus Jones, we talked about before. The other ones are tricky because Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr., I think you can play in cash, but I don't think you have to. I think you have to play Xavier Tillman and Tyus Jones in FanDuel cash. Desmond Bane is $8,400 on FanDuel. Jaren Jackson Jr. is $8,500. If you could get up to them, I think they're decent plays. You don't have to play them in cash. I would say Tillman and Jones, you do have to. And once again, on DraftKings, I would play Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr., Tyus Jones, and Santi Aldama all in cash. Aldama is one of my favorite cheap options we have on the slate today. What do you make of Aldama as a value option?
Yeah, so I think that he is a fine value option. He played like 30 minutes in one of the recent games. And we're only projecting for around 23 minutes, and he's still projecting really well, point per dollar. It's a little bit risky, but only 20% of the field's getting there. I feel like that looks about right to me. He's only played 21 minutes each of the past 2 games. We're not missing anybody new from Memphis, are we? We still got, obviously, the usuals are out. Steven Adams is out, Brandon Clark, John Morant, but I don't think we have anybody new. So our projection of 23 minutes feels about right. 21 each of the past 2, then 23 minutes the game before that, 30 minutes the game before that against Golden State.
A little story to the 30-minute game against Golden State, because very tilting one for me. I bet unders on Santi Aldama that game. Here's what happened. So I have unders on Santi Aldama. We know the Warriors generally play some smaller lineups. So I go, this is not a great spot for Aldama. 2 minutes into the game, Xavier Tillman had 2 fouls, and like 4 minutes into the game, Jaren Jackson Jr. had 2 fouls, and they just had nobody else to play, and they just played Aldama a lot. So that's why his minutes were up in that game, because I bet unders on him. That's the exact reason.
So do you think the 23-minute projection, I mean, it seems about right, but does he often get a minutes bump from Jaren Jackson Jr.? I mean, just talking about how Jaren Jackson Jr. less likely to get in foul trouble in this game with the Spurs, at least theoretically, maybe means Aldama's less likely to spike a ceiling with his minutes?
To an extent, except there's also blowout risk in this game, and Aldama does play garbage time on occasion.
Yeah, good call. No, it feels about right.
I wouldn't expect. I mean, you can't write off foul trouble for Jaren Jackson Jr., but I would say this matchup makes it less likely than other spots. But Aldama, I think, is a good value play, just considering how cheap his price point is, and the fact that, at least as of right now, it's not like there's an abundance of cheap value guys. There's going to be more that I assume open up as the day goes on, especially because let me read off the injury report as the day goes on. I know we're only 30 minutes away from lock, but we still have Kyrie Irving listed as questionable. We still have Gobert questionable. We still have Jeremy Grant questionable. Marcus Smart is questionable. And then we also have Keita Bates-Diop questionable, Naz Reid questionable. So there are pieces that could get ruled out that open up more value. I couldn't tell you I feel confident any one of those players individually sit, but on the whole, I would expect 1 or 2 to get ruled out just because of the amount of players that are questionable. And that would make Aldama probably appear in less in my lineups just when we get more options to go to.
You said Naz Reid. I think you meant Rudy Gobert, right? Naz is not.
No, they're both questionable.
Oh, they are both questionable. You're right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're both questionable today.
Interesting.
Same as the other day, and then they both ended up playing. So we'll see what ends up happening with that scenario. Every time I feel confident that Gobert is going to sit or is going to play, I'm on the wrong side of it. I do think he's more likely to sit today than not. But who's to say? These things are difficult to guess.
Yeah, we should have that news before the show is over.
Now, official Steph Curry listed available to play, and Kevon Looney also listed available to play. So we got both of those now in. Officially, it is now inked, and we know that the NBA, there's never a time where they screw us with NBA injury reports. Everything is always accurate. That is
never
the concrete data there. Nicholas Barrett, can I get your top 3 GPP plays on DK for single entry? Price doesn't matter, but nobody can be chalky. Nobody can be chalky. So let's try to find, for our guy here, Nicholas Bennett, who are our 3 favorite tournament plays that also can't be super chalky. So we're not going to be throwing out the Memphis guys into this. I don't know what we want to make the cut, because it doesn't have to be like 3 players that are sub 5% owned, but let's try to find some guys that are not, like the most popular plays on the slate that we think he should be playing in a single entry lineup.
All right. I'll throw one out right away.
Okay.
I'm really interested in Yusuf Nurkic tonight. I think 28 minutes last time out. Obviously, if Jeremy Grant does come back for this game, there's no guarantee that he gets there, but I think that they probably are still just ramping up his minutes, and he's likely to see 28 again. It is unclear if they are. I mean, he played 10 minutes the game before that, so can't be all that confident in it, but if Nurkic did play 28 minutes tonight, we would have him projected for, if we projected him for 28 minutes, we project him for over 35 fantasy points at 5,800. And I don't think that's an unreasonable minutes projection. We don't have him at that minutes projection because it is definitely a little bit risky with Jeremy Grant potentially playing in this game. If Jeremy Grant is out, I think Nurkic is going to be an absolute smash, but I would still be willing to play him above the 10% of the field is that, even if Jeremy Grant is in, because I think that there is some chance that they really do just want to play Nurkic 30 plus minutes and they're just ramping him up at this point. So I think he's one of my favorite GPP plays on the board.
Good call. So I am looking. I had another center I was going to say, but we can't give him. What are we going to do? Give him like 4 centers? We can only play 2. So let's see. Who else do I want to go with? I'm looking at my current exposure relative to some of the ownership. And where do we have? All right. Here's one that I'm overweight to the field too that I like. Trae Young is projected for not all that much ownership. He is at 12% right now. And I think this is a really strong spot for Trae Young. And there are a bunch of teams that we're starting to see ramp up the minutes for their key players. There are teams that we could target that are like in that, we'll say like the 5 to 10 seed range, where it's kind of like, hey, if we don't start winning games now, our season is over. These games are massively high leverage for us. And I think we could start to see that happening with Trae Young. We haven't seen it quite yet, where he hasn't been one of those guys that's playing like 36 to 38 minutes. I'm not projecting him for it, but I think the ceiling is potentially there for that. And Young has just been playing much better as of late also than he was earlier in the year. And here is a narrative I buy into. Where the Hawks are in the standings. Let me pull this up right here just so I know exactly where it is. If I'm not mistaken, they're currently the 8 seed in the East, but I'm going to double check that. Yes, they're the 8 seed in the East. They are 3 games behind Miami for the 7 seed and only a half game up for the 9. 8 versus 9 is a massive difference for the playing game. That's the difference between only having to win 1 game to make it to the next round and having to win 2 games. And then something else too that stands out about Trae Young is his usage is way up in recent games. I tend to think it's reasonable to expect that when teams are in these more high leverage must-win type games, it's 12 games left in the season for the Hawks, it's reasonable to think a player like Trae Young will say like, all right, I have to take more shots now. The onus is on me. And there's other teams like the Heat, for instance, Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo are playing more minutes. I think we will see more minutes for Trae Young going forward. But as of right now, the usage is up. And I think that has a lot to do with where the Hawks are in the standings. He's somebody I'm overweight to. So Trae Young is going to be another tournament play that I'm overweight to. So we've given him Trae Young. We've given him Yusuf Nurkic. Is there another one that stands out to you, Neil?
Yeah, there's a few more that I like. Larry Nance is somebody that I'm interested in because he's not getting a ton of ownership. He's a pretty nice point per dollar play. We're only projecting him for 20.4 minutes, but I think that he could clearly get more than he could play, 24 minutes, and he would just absolutely smash at this $3,500 price tag. And even if he does only play 20 minutes against this Houston team, I think Larry Nance could absolutely smash the slate. He's only projected for 7% ownership. I don't understand what they're doing, not giving J-Val more minutes, but there seem to be limiting J-Val's minutes, and I think Larry Nance could benefit. So I like Larry Nance quite a bit at 7% ownership.
Hey, I've got exposure to him as well, so I could get behind that. Larry Nance, I think those are 3 players that you could build some lineups around there. Mr. Nicholas Barrett, thank you for the super chat. Now, let me see. I thought there might have been other super chats in here. Yeah, here we go. Oh, no, we got them all. But Jordan Klein is on top of his game today. Let me check Discord to see if we have any questions there. If not, guys, at me in Discord. It is one of the perks of having a Stokastic Plus Platinum membership. You're in our Discord. You could troll us. You could ask us questions. And we're usually in there to answer, especially when we're on these shows. And it's something that comes, like I said, with the Stokastic Plus Platinum membership. If you guys haven't signed up yet, use the link below. Any package you sign up for, you're going to get 50% off when you sign up for the first time. You just have to use the link that we have below, and that will include all of the tools we have over at Stokastic.com. If you sign up for a Platinum Pass, it includes every tool for every single sport. But if you're only looking for NBA, we have NBA-specific packages. If you only want the NBA lineup generator, you get that for less than $5 when you sign up using the link that we have below. We did get a super chat here, by the way. Corey Shea, Kevin Porter, or CJ McCollum? All right, let's see. Who do I like more? Porter or McCollum? Porter or McCollum? All right. I would have helped if I didn't type McCollum's name in twice when I was looking here. but he's the one who I prefer. I have a considerably higher projection on CJ McCollum than Kevin Porter Jr.
Yep, and the site does as well, so that's also where I would go.
Yeah, CJ McCollum, the answer there. So go with McCollum there, Corey Shea. McCollum, I know he was banged up a little bit with that thumb injury, but it seems like he's been doing much better and managing it better over the course of the last few games. And still, that Pelicans team, another one that in that same sort of situation, I was talking about the Heat and the Hawks before. Another player, McCollum, is playing a bigger role as of late. There's no Zion for that team, and McCollum's been stepping up as of late. Sir Dwayne Moody, which 4 players have the best volume outlook for a rebound prop? Okay, let's see who projects the best for, well, I'm going to pull up our projection. I'm just going to say which players have the best overs for rebound props today. He also says happy St. Patty's Day, fellas.
Greg, have you been pinched yet today? I see you're not wearing green.
If I being totally honest, I was not aware it was St. Patrick's Day until we got that super chat.
That's hilarious.
I just live in my own world. I'm just sitting here recording MMA content. I'm doing my own thing. I'm shit posting some stuff on Twitter, but it didn't occur to me.
So I take it you don't have big St. Patrick's Day plans tonight?
My parents are coming over for dinner, but I don't think that's related. Maybe it's related to St. Patrick's Day. My plans are to watch college basketball games and hope that my bracket stays alive for another. Oh, actually, let me check to make sure Creighton won. If Creighton lost, then I'm probably done watching college basketball for the tournament. Did Creighton win or did Creighton lose? Let's see. Because if Creighton lost, I'm not going to be watching college basketball tonight. Creighton, because they were playing just as their game was finishing up. All right, cool. Creighton won by 9. So I'll be watching college basketball tonight to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. My final in my bracket, nice. I told people yesterday, it is Houston over Creighton. As long as those teams keep winning, I'll be invested in the tournament.
I have no idea. I did a few different brackets. I don't remember. The only one that I really care about is the Onyx tier 1, just because obviously it has the biggest prize pool. I know I have Houston winning it. I don't know who I have elsewhere in the competition. I did one with a friend of mine sent us a bracket. He said, I made a bracket and it's going to be different than others because it's going to be 10 points for the first round. And that gets progressively more to 32 points for the final round. But also the points are going to be multiplied by the ranking of the team. So like a 16 seed will get 160 points if they win the first round, et cetera, et cetera. So of course he told me those rules. I made my bracket with a ton of underdogs in the first round and then come to learn, oh no, that 10 point in the first round thing, that's not actually true. So I made a bracket that just makes absolutely zero sense because he lied to me about the rules.
That's really on him though.
It is. I think he meant to actually set those rules and he just forgot.
Oh, so it's even doubly his fuck up there.
Yeah.
But what was the price? What was the buy-in for?
It was $5.
And so who even gives a shit at that point?
And also, I thought it was going to be a big bracket. And he was going to invite all of his friends. It ended up with 4 of us are in the bracket. So I don't give a shit about that one at all at this point. But it's pretty funny that I was like,
you're in a 4-person bracket where each paid $5.
Yep. It is winner take all. So that's good. But I probably would not have joined. This is the guy that I went out drinking with last night. So it was like, oh, let's all do a bracket. But I thought he was sending it to like a ton of different friends. And it was like, no, Jesse just sent it to those of us who were going out last night. And his wife joined.
So does that make 5?
No, she was the 4th. One of the guys I went out with did not join. Yeah. And there were only 4 of us who went out. So yeah, one of them didn't join. And then my friend's wife joined.
Well, I hope you win that bracket so you could retire and move on to bigger and better things in your life once you solidify that big $20 payout. But Sir Dwayne Moody, which 4 players have the best volume outlook for a rebound prop? Well, I am going to look at our props and I am going to sort by rebounds and I'll see what pops up. Does it have to be overs? Can I just tell you which ones have the best EV? Does it have to be overs? Because we got some unders we like here as well. And if you guys want to sign up for NBA Bet Pro and get access to all of our projections, we do have a 1-week free trial if you click on the link below to sign up. But these are currently our best rebound projections for the day. Props just across the board. Jay Sean Tate under 3.5 rebounds. It's plus 120. So we have this winning really close to 50-50. We have this winning half the time it wins, half the time it loses. But the reason this is a value bet is because it is a plus money prop and he wants 3 more. All right, so that is one that we project well. Another one that we project well is Trey Murphy. for over 3.5 rebounds. I bet this one a number of times this year. Whenever the Pelicans have been shorthanded, we typically see extended minutes from Trey Murphy, and his prop lines never really move that much. He's almost always at 3.5. So over 3.5 for Trey Murphy. Another one we like is under 3.5 for Tyrese Maxey. There's nothing else, though, that projects extremely well right here. Let's see, what is Nurkic at books? You know what I might do for fun? What is Nurk? You could bet Nurkic. All right, so Nurkic over 8.5 rebounds. We have that as like a neutral bet. But what are some of his alt lines? I'm curious, because I thought you made a really good point before, Niels, that there's a lot of variance in his minutes. I don't know if I would feel great betting just the 8.5 rebound prop for Nurkic. But
Right.
let me look at some of these alt lines. Like, what would it look like if we took a shot on him playing those extended minutes? Because based on what we know about Nurkic's minutes, is he really that much more likely to have 9 rebounds than, say, 11 or 12? Like, obviously to an extent, except I think that he's probably, his range of outcomes is probably going to make it so that his minutes are going to dictate his rebounds so much more. Like, I don't think 8.5 is a fair number. Like, I think he's probably going to play limited minutes and fall well short of that, or he's just going to play full minutes and probably be well above that. So what do we got for rebounds, the alt lines? Hopefully it's something good, or this, boy, would this be a waste of time. All right. If we got him for 12 rebounds plus 240, I could get behind the 8.5. It's decent looking on Prize Picks as well, but I assume you mean sports books. But Sir Dwayne Moody, the ones that I feel the best about were the first 3 that I read off, which is Jayshawn Tate under 3.5 rebounds, Trey Murphy over 3.5 rebounds, and Tyrese Maxey under 3.5 rebounds. 3 rebound props, all at 3.5. I guess that's just the key number of the day. But I hope that helps you win some money tonight. The next question that we have here is from Olrat 14. Should Mobley be my highest owned in 20 max on DK? I'm going to say no, because Mobley is not my highest owned.
Yeah, I mean, he's not my highest owned either. I only have currently one lineup with Mobley, and I don't know that he's going to become a huge priority for me. He projects fine at 7,600, but he's not like a 6x kind of play tonight.
Yes, I mean, I get that Jared Allen's out, but I think you want to get exposure to Mobley, and he's, if you're on his salary for cash games, I think he's a consideration there. But this isn't somebody I look at and be like, this is the guy I need to jam today, right? Like, I think there's a plenty, like Desmond Bane, Jaren Jackson Jr. I think there's a lot of guys that we do want to get like a lot of exposure to. Mobley's just kind of a guy for me on the slate.
Yeah.
The next question we have here is from follow-up from Boss Nova. No question, though, just a $1.99 super chat. And then, oh, nope, sorry. There was a follow-up here. Who is your top pay up tonight on DK? So the one that I got to the most, talked about him a little bit before, is actually Trae Young.
I really like that call on Trae Young. I've been getting more and more of him as I go. My top payout is Joel Embiid, though. He just projects significantly better than anybody else on the slate. We have him, hang on one second. We have him 7 fantasy points better than the six fantasy points better than the next player on the slate. And he's 11,400. Obviously, that's a steep price tag, but great matchup with Charlotte. Expected to play big minutes here. So as long as the game can stay close, I think, and it is in Charlotte, so that helps. Embiid is going to be the player that I'm going to be most exposed to at the high end.
Our show tonight is sponsored by No House Advantage. If you guys haven't signed up at NHA, you can use the link below, or you just sign up using the promo code Greg. That is going to get you up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit. And in the post-lock show today, Neil and I are going to look at some of those props against the house. We're going to find some value for you guys to build out some parlays over at NHA. But don't forget, sign up, use our link, use the promo code Greg, and you're going to get up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit. Diving into Discord, we have a question here from, Discord is looking really trippy on my phone right now. Miami High Life, thoughts on Harden and Embiid in the same lineup for a DK GPP? I'm not making rules to make it so that I can't play them in the same lineup, but if you're hand building a lineup, I would avoid it.
Yep, I feel the exact same way. I'll probably have them in some of the same lineups because I like them both quite a bit. But if I were hand building, I probably wouldn't, unless I have bring back also from Charlotte. I might consider it.
Yeah, and are you getting really any exposure to Charlotte players?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
take a look.
The easy
A
answer
little bit
here
to
is,
Dennis Smith.
yeah, I don't think I have Charlotte guys. Or at least nothing of significance. Nope. Nothing of significance for me from Charlotte. So my preference would be no. If you end up playing a bunch of lineups and you have, a lineup here or there that have both of them in, I don't think that's the end of the world. Let me see if I have any with them together, actually. I do not have any lineups with the two of them together. Not by rule, just because that's how things worked out. And I'll say this. If you are in a spot where you have Harden and Embiid in the same lineup, I think you should switch Harden to Trae Young.
I like that.
That's a good way to go. Then we've got a question here from Heflove. Trey Jones or Xavier Tillman for DK utility?
Trey Jones.
Right. Tillman or Trey Jones. Pretty easy if they're in the same game.
Yeah, I think it's Trey Jones.
That is Trey Jones for me. They're very close though.
Yeah.
But
Well, then
I'll
obviously
lean
the
towards Trey.
tiebreaker going to the Jones brothers facing off each other are going to shoot it 25 times each.
Tiebreaker to the ones who went to the same high school as Neil Orfield.
Exactly. That's right.
A hardened rule on this show. We use it all the time. The next super chat is from Chris Albers. Favorite plays position by position. Also, who are your favorite cheapies? Sure. So we'll dive into this right now. Point guard for me is Trae Young. Neil, if you had to pick out one point guard as your favorite, who would it be?
So right now I have the most of Tyus Jones, which I didn't do anything to his projection, despite going to my high school. I just left his projection as is, got to a lot of Tyus Jones. Man, I'm still getting 24%. I keep cutting back Rubio's projection because I don't want to get a ton of Rubio. I might just X him out. I keep getting a ton there, but then I also do like Trae Young quite a bit.
The next one for me is if I go to shooting guard, Desmond Bane. I think he's a pretty good piece of chalk today on DK. For yourself at shooting guard, who you get the most exposure to?
Okay, just FYI, I just did a new crunch and I got James Harden as my most exposed, followed by Trae Young. Okay, shooting guard, Bogdan Bogdanovic. I was actually going to ask you about him. I'm getting to a ton of Bogdanovic, and I love the game environment there with Golden State. I'm not confident in the minutes, though. How are you feeling about Bogdanovic tonight?
I'm quite a bit overweight actually not quite a bit overweight because he is popular. I'm overweight to Bogdanovic, though. Okay. I think this is a good game for him from a standpoint of, I know the last few games he's only played 20, 22 minutes. His price is at the floor, though. This is as cheap as he's been really ever that he's been healthy. Yeah. And if you consider, all right, how do the Hawks match up against the Warriors? You would have to think they're playing smaller lineups than typical in this spot. And that would mean to me that we see more of like the Bogdanovic/Hunter in the front court, and maybe less of the Collins and Capella combination, especially if they get behind in this game. They're going to need more shooting on the court. And the total is so high, 247.5. This in itself, a 247.5 total, indicates that when people are setting this line, they think that this is going to be more of a small ball game. Like the line isn't 247.5 if they think that we're seeing a whole bunch of, like Clint Capella and John Collins on the court at the same time.
Yeah, good call. I like that. Well, I'm glad to hear that because I'm getting a lot of Bogdanovic, and I'm like, man, this feels a little bit risky to me, especially after you put up like 6 fantasy points in the last game. But this does seem like the right game environment for him.
Small forward for me is Brandon Ingram. By the way, Bogdanovic pretty close at small forward is my most rostered one. But yourself at small forward?
It is still Bogdanovic. Okay. Now I'm getting a ton of Chetty Osman. Okay.
Power forward for me is Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr. Yourself?
Also Triple J, and Jonathan Kuminga is my number 2 there.
Center for me is Santi Aldama. It is Jaren Jackson Jr., but Aldama is another one that I'm getting to, so I'll throw him in there. How about yourself at center?
It is Nurkic currently. Okay. I might adjust if we do get news that Jeremy Grant is playing, but I'm going to play a good amount either way.
There we go. I like it. I think that's a good upside play. A little bit risky, but there's a pretty clear and apparent ceiling. So I like going in that direction. The other part of his question, the super chat from Chris, was who are our favorite cheapies? So for me, Aldama's one. I do like Ricky Rubio a bit for this slate, and Bogdanovic.
Let me look. Favorite cheapies. Yeah, so depending on what you consider cheap, I'm playing a lot of Kuminga, as I said, at 4,400, Bogdanovic getting quite a bit, and a little bit of Aldama as well. So I'd say those are probably my favorite cheapies.
And then JEW asked who our favorite small forwards for DK single entry. Ingram, Bogdanovich, and DeAndre Hunter be the ones that I say. I really do think the Hawks will play more small ball because of the matchup today. So that's where I ended up going there. Some more super chats coming in. This one is from Daniel Buffington. Prize Picks question for Greg and Neil. Who are your favorite fantasy score to go over? Let me pull up Prize Picks and look at some of those fantasy scores, and then I will get back to you, Mr. Daniel Buffington. The next super chat. Come on, Slack, close this question. There we go. I want to answer more questions. James Magruder, best played each position on DK. We just went over that. And then 5,400 player for DK utility. Okay, so 5,400 DK utility. Neil, who projects the best for us? 5,400 or under on DraftKings that we could have James plug into his utility spot.
Let me look.
And I'm looking at some of the Prize Picks projections, or some of the Prize Picks fantasy scores for our guy Daniel.
Actually, it's Kevon Looney. And the next up will be Trey Jones. I mean, if you're not expecting Kevon Looney to play a lot of minutes, right?
Well, I'm expecting to play about his normal. Like
Okay.
I like Kevon Looney at center today.
Okay.
What I don't think is going to happen is like 30 plus minutes of Capella and Collins together.
Right. Yeah, it is. If I'm reading this right, Kevon Looney is our top projected player, 5,400 or under.
So to answer Daniel's question, Daniel wants to know who some of my favorite fantasy scores to go over are. So I just pulled this up. One for me, Kyle Kuzma's over under for fantasy points is 31.5. I think that's a little bit low. I like the over on that. I like Darius Garland for over 37.5 fantasy points. That's another mark that I think is a little bit low. And then let's see, let me find a third one for him. Well, I'm tempted to say Jaren Jackson Jr. over fantasy points, but that's really risky for a Prize Picks type scenario where it's just over under and no other aspect. So I'll say DeMar DeRozan for over 37 flat fantasy points. Fairly low number for DeRozan. Another guy who falls in that same category of when I was talking about players before who are playing more minutes as their team starts to potentially get eliminated from the playoffs. Let me pull up DeRozan because off the top of my head, he's played some massive minutes as of late because he has. DeRozan, last few games, 40 minutes, 39, 38, 38. That's a lot of minutes for DeRozan. I like him for over 37 fantasy points. So Daniel, I hope that helps you build out your Prize Picks cards. The next question here is from Jorge. Thoughts on ownership projection on Mobley, Rubio, and Osman? For those players individually, Neil, we already talked about Mobley a little bit. I think he's reasonably I think his ownership projection is totally fair. I don't think I got to Chetty Osman though.
So I started getting to Chetty Osman, I think, because I was cutting back my Rubio so much. So then it just Fantasy Cruncher will naturally give me a different value play because the top end plays are so good and I projected them even better. So I get sort of forcing in a value play. What was the question again? It was, what do we think of the ownership projections?
Yeah. So I guess relative to ownership, do we like, we're neutral on Mobley. I'm still cool with Rubio. Chetty would be the other one. I'm not really getting to Chetty. I understand he's had a couple of back-to-back games in a row. I tend to think he's going to be much more popular than his ownership projection is just because of what he did his last couple of games. Okay.
Yeah. I was going to say, if he is going to come in at 5.5%, yeah, I have interest in that. I want to get over the field on Chetty Osman at that number. But if it gets too much higher, I'm out on Chetty. I'm largely fading Rubio at 24% ownership. I don't really see the upside there. Obviously, he could spike an upside, but I think it's unlikely for Rubio to really put up a score that we need at 3,100. So I don't think I love Rubio here. And Mobley, as we discussed, I think the ownership is fair, maybe even a little bit high.
All right. So there we go. That is our takes on the Cleveland guys. The next question is from E. Page. Jaden McDaniels or Jonathan Kuminga at small forward. That is Kuminga for me. And I feel pretty good about that. We got a bunch of ones, so I'm going to try to go a little quick with these. Abby Schreier, Nasir Little, if Grant is out. Nasir Little would be viable. And then as Neil mentioned before, I do like the Nurkic call. I think he's somebody with upside who already looks like a pretty high variance GB play with a ceiling. I'd feel even better about that if Jeremy Grant is out. So Nasir Little, viable if Grant is out, but really like Nurkic.
Trendon Watford as well, right? Would become somewhat of an interesting.
He started the other day, so I assume he'd likely start.
And played huge minutes.
Yeah, but Little would also be viable.
Yeah.
Robert Cremutula, 5 must-haves for FanDuel Cash. The 5 players you absolutely need for FanDuel Cash. I would say the 2 easy ones are Xavier Tillman and Tyus Jones. Beyond that, Devin Vassell is still fairly cheap. On FanDuel, I would say Evan Mobley, especially considering the defensive stat upside, and then Brandon Ingram. Those are the 5, Robert, that I think you should be building your cash game lineups around. Boss Nova, Harden, or Young. Depends what the rest of your lineup looks like. I have more exposure to Trae Young, Trae Young today. I know Neil said he is more of Harden. I don't really think you could go wrong in either direction. I think both look great. I like the ownership on Trae Young, and I think there's a massive ceiling there. Are you still more? Is Harden still your most rostered guard?
So now it's Alex Caruso. I don't think I want quite this much Alex Caruso though. So it's a work in progress. I got 3 minutes. I got to change things, so I'm gonna keep working on it.
All right, I'll handle these questions then. So Trae Young for me, Bossa Nova, and then finally Avi Schreier. White, green, or brown tonight on FanDuel. Why not black?
Why not black?
Are there any other players with color names today? Let's see. In which green? How many greens are playing today? We've got Jalen Green, we've got Josh Green, we've got Jermichael Green, Draymond Green, Danny Green, and Javante Green. Now, half of those greens are out, but I'm just saying your green game is lacking there, Abby. I think you could play more greens in your lineup.
Throw a couple in there.
Yeah, more greens. Not enough greens, in my opinion. All right, let me see if there was any more super chats that came in. Yes, we've got from James and Gruder, best 3,800 or under play for a DK utility. And for me, that is, all right, $3,800 or under. All right, scroll. See where I could find the first player, $3,800 or under, and it's utility, so it can be any position. That is actually Larry Nance Jr. for myself.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it'll be the same for me.
Yeah, because Aldama's 3,900, so he doesn't quite make the cut. So Larry Nance, I think he's a pretty decent looking contrarian play.
Yep.
All right, that covers all of those. Just a couple minutes to go. Neil and I are going to be doing the normal thing. We're sticking around for 30 minutes post-lock. We're going to be sweating the games, looking out for any news. And then also we are going to be building out some prop cards for No House Advantage, who are the sponsor of today's show. And if you guys want to sign up and get up to $100 deposit on your first, $100 bonus on your first deposit, you sign up using the link below. Or if that's too complicated for you, if you just want a promo code, Greg, easy. That's my name, GREG. You can sign up using that promo code and it'll help you out. We got one question in Discord really quick here. The Black Mamba, thoughts on Wofford if Lillard and Grant are out? Lillard is not going to be out, assuming Portland waving the white flag. So we got information earlier, and it looks like what Portland's going to do is they're going to see what happens over the course of the next couple of weeks, and then they're going to evaluate the Dame Lillard situation. If they are falling well out of the playoff mix, it seems like they're just going to shut him down per Chris Haynes. Lillard is going to play today, though. All the indications are that he's going to play today. If Grant is out and Watford starts, he looks good regardless. The Dame piece is not all that important to Watford. The Jeremy Grant piece is. If Grant is out, I'm going to love getting to Watford. I assume he's also going to not be all that popular. Let's see, what do we have his ownership at?
It almost makes me feel better about Dame's minutes that they have this plan that, like, if they can't catch on in the next few games, they're going to start tanking, because that probably means that until they're out of it, they're going to just be going all out trying to win these games. So kind of makes me like Dame even better.
Yeah, and Trent Watford is 4,500 on DK, projected for literally no ownership right now. Like 0.1% of the field is playing him, and it's going to be one of those spots where if Grant is ruled out and if Watford starts, I just don't think the field is going to react in the way that they should, and he's going to go under owned. So in the scenario where he starts, I love him. All right, that cover all the super chats. Yes. Did you get your lineups in, by the way, Neil?
I did get my lineups in.
Good man. Good man. I was a little nervous there for a second. I wasn't sure if you were going to make it. By the way, we have made it to lock. We're here. We've got 30 minutes left in the show. Neil and I are not going anywhere. If you guys do choose to walk out the door, please don't. My ego can't handle that, but at least hit the like button and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you guys are leaving for the night. And we got one more super chat that just came in from Austin Semmelman, Jalen Green or Zach Collins on FanDuel. I'm not really sure. This must be, where are you comparing Jalen Green and Zach Collins together?
I mean, the answer is Jalen Green, but
The answer is Jalen Green, but I mean, it's just different. It's just such different positions. And FanDuel doesn't have the same positional flexibility as DraftKings. So I'm just not sure where that would be a 1v1. But either way, Jalen Green's the answer for me.
Yep.
The Black Mamba, thoughts on LeVert if we see a similar rotation to the previous game? So if we
he's
see
interesting.
if we see the same exact rotation as last game, let me pull up the minutes.
Only projected for 1% ownership. I actually think LeVert isn't. He's also leverage against Chalky Rubio to some extent. So I mean, he played 36 minutes the last game out.
Yeah, so a couple things that we should note in that game. If I'm not mistaken, Isaac Okoro got into some early foul trouble. Garland also got into some early foul trouble. There was a lot of things that happened that inflated the minutes. And by the way, also the biggest one, Rubio didn't play last game. Probably the biggest reason that Osman and LeVert's minutes were what they were is foul trouble for other players and Rubio not playing. So I don't see another scenario where Rubio plays 0 minutes like he did last game. Like I just don't see that. There's no way to say the rotation is going to be the same.
I wouldn't be mad about it. 25% Rubio, just dead.
It's not, unless we find out that Rubio is about to be ruled out, though. I wouldn't build lineup and say, like, what if the Cavs do the same thing?
Right,
There's players out.
Right.
All right. Any other super chats? Here we go. By the way, we're getting a lot of these that are about Trae Young and about James Harden. Uncle JB says, thoughts on Harden and Trae Young in the same lineup? I have no issue with that whatsoever.
Yeah, totally fine.
Yeah, we could stick with that. And let's see. Anything else as far as questions go in Discord? All right, that is going to answer all of them. What's your biggest sweat for tonight, Neil? Who do you want to do well? Who do you want to do poorly? I assume one of them is Ricky Rubio.
Yeah, I want Ricky Rubio. Love him, but I want him to do poorly tonight, and I want Nurkic to crush it tonight.
Okay. For me, Trae Young is probably the guy I want to crush the most. Who am I rooting against, though? Look at the most recent ownership projection. Who's really popular that I just want to stick it to, right? If you had a doll, you could stick the pins in to make it so that they feel the pain and they get hurt. What are those things called again?
Voodoo dolls?
The voodoo doll. Yeah, if I had a voodoo doll,
who are you going to stick it in, Greg?
Yeah, who am I going to stick it in? Who am I going to stick it in? I ended up coming in underweight to the field on Tyus Jones. Just like to stick it to him. Who else? Tyus Jones, probably I'll say Tyus Jones. Another one, Klay Thompson's really popular. I didn't really end up playing a lot of Klay Thompson.
He's really popular?
Nearly 20%. See,
I wonder if that'll come down with the news that Curry is playing. I don't know.
Let me refresh this to see. But yeah, I think we had him starting lineup, by the way. Curry, DiVincenzo, Thompson, Kuminga, and Looney. Yeah, we had Klay's final ownership projection 17%. I hope it's not a Klay day where he just goes out and makes all of his shots. I get it, though. People want to get exposure to that game because the total is really high. Yeah. It's funny, though, Trae, we've got all this ownership going to the Warriors, and then Trae is still only 12% owned.
Yeah, it is. It's really weird. And then Steph is not getting any ownership either.
Yeah, we've got Steph projected for 5%. So Trae Young's going to be my guy today. I think my night is very much going to be made or broken on Trae Young and his terrible haircut. The next question here. Corey Bomber. Curry and Bane or Trae and Vooch on DK? Ooh, that's tough for me. I love Trae so much for today, but I don't like Vooch as much. Bane I also like a lot. I'm actually going to say Curry and Bane.
What was the other one?
Curry and Bane or Trae and Vooch?
Yeah, I'd say Curry and Bane too.
All right. There we go. Jake Swell says Trae Young is balding, but he's like balding by growing more hair at the same time. Yeah. It's very bizarre. I've never seen
just shave it, man.
Like I've never seen somebody who balds, but like his hair grows longer, but in strange spots and is like thin in certain places. It's the worst hairline I think anybody's ever seen.
It's not great.
Trae Young.
Other than who's that MMA fighter? Charles Johnson, is that his name? Does the bald head but then a mullet?
Yes, he's not the only UFC fighter that does that.
Oh no.
There's a number of really terrible. There was one guy. No, actually, so Charles Johnson, I think, did fight with like a ponytail in his last fight, and the rest of his head bald. There was somebody a couple weeks ago. I can't remember his name. It may be the worst haircut I've ever seen in my entire life. And this is coming from somebody who got made fun of for weeks based on how terrible my last haircut was. And this was something that, see, here's what made this guy's haircut worse than mine. I wish I had a visual to pull up. I'm going to go through some of the recent cards, see if I could remember who it was. What makes it so bad is that based on his haircut, you could tell that I know it was Jordan. I just remembered his name. Carl Deaton. Look up Carl Deaton hair. His last name is spelled Deaton. Absolute abomination. But what makes it really bad is this was a decision, right? Like, he didn't go to the barber like me and get a shit haircut. He decided he wanted to have that shit hair. Because I'll send you a picture of this too, Jordan. Or were you able to find one? Is Jordan even listening to us?
Somebody in chat nailed it that it was, Piezo. Greg, it's Carl Deaton.
Yeah.
He knew.
Yeah, it's not great. Yeah. Higabenu says, remember Chris Kaman from the Clippers? He had worse hair than Ice Trae. Well, the other thing too is Chris Kaman was so weird looking that it almost fit him. Like, he shouldn't have good hair. Yeah,
I don't really remember Chris Kaman being super weird looking.
This is not good hair. Because he's somehow, like, he's balding, but then this doesn't even do it justice. Click on the one to the right.
Is he even balding though? Like, maybe a slight receding hairline, but that doesn't look.
No, if you look at other pictures of him.
Okay.
Like, there was certain lights where, like, look at the one, scroll down, click on the one to the picture you currently have expanded, Jordan. The one bottom, like, that's bad. But then there was another one where he looked really bad in the face-off. It was really apparent how bad his hair was.
I think in general, just a general rule of thumb, if you're losing your hair, don't make it your defining feature.
just become a Timberwolves fan, wear a hat.
Exactly. Just wear your Timberwolves hat all the time.
Yeah. Look at this. This is a disaster.
Yeah.
If anybody else has some bad hair submissions, throw them in. I'm looking through chat to see if anybody else has
Birdman.
some.
I don't think, did Birdman have weird hair? I guess he had a mohawk.
Yeah. But see, Chris Kaman is just weird looking.
Yeah. No, he did it right. He shaved his head.
I don't want to slander anybody, but didn't Birdman have like child porn issues or something?
No, I believe he was set up. Like, it was something where somebody tried to catfish him.
There we go. All right. So it was a sting operation. He got cleared. I do know he was wasn't he also arrested? Was the drug charge, was that also?
I don't remember.
All right, let me look. Chris Anderson. I thought he got arrested with like an entire van where the backseat was just nothing but weed. Like, kind of like the prank people used to do where they would fill up the car with popcorn and then somebody goes in and they open the door and it was just everything was popcorn. That was like his van normally, but with weed in it. Something like that.
Yeah.
Carl Deaton's winning for worst hair right now, by the way.
Yeah. Is it somebody at Stokastic who knows Birdman?
Oh, I thought you were going to say somebody at Stokastic who has the worst haircut. I don't know. I'm sure Eric will tell you that he beat Chris Anderson in a game of one-on-one.
He told us that story on. We did a show earlier today, Eric and I, in which he brought up that he had beat. Who was it again? It was retired guard Raymond Felton in basketball, and I brought up that Jake Hari beat Eric in basketball. That was
the exact same thing I said. I find it hard to believe that Eric is beating NBA players in hoops when I, with my own eyes, watched a hockey tout kick the shit out of him in basketball.
Yeah, it's hard. It's not really believable.
Yeah,
nice try.
Don't
Eric.
believe it for a second. We put a poll up yesterday, and it was like 70. If I'm not mistaken, it was somewhere around 70% of the people thought he was lying.
I'm surprised it was only that high.
It did well because I think Eric was probably just frantically making burners to vote for.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
That would make sense.
We did get, Adam EG in chat. Eric can't beat anyone in anything. Absolutely. Chris Williams, it's yet again your Apple guy. No questions. Just want to say thank you both for the great content. Still spreading Stokastic at our corporate office. And one coworker won 6K last night. Hit the like button.
Very nice.
Oh my God. Do you work here? I've been under,
Yeah.
I've had this feeling that Chris Williams, the little ongoing joke is that Chris Williams is actually an employee that works here. Thank you for the support, Chris. We really do appreciate it. Actually,
SMP says, yeah, Birdman got catfished by a minor who is now married to Don McLean of American Pie, the song Fame. There's a 2020 on it.
Ooh, interesting. Any other bad hair submissions? I feel like that's kind of fallen by the wayside. Eric Johnson, by the way, Eric Johnson did win 6K last night. I know because he DM'd me about it maybe 60 times yesterday. But Eric and I were having fun. We were going back and forth, sweating a little bit last night. My DMs were absolutely unhinged yesterday. Here's how you know my DMs have gotten off the rails. Eric was by far the most reasonable person DMing me last night.
It's not a good sign.
By a mile, he was the most reasonable person DMing me.
Every time Eric wins, he tweets at me and asks me when he's coming on High Stakes.
But your answer?
My rule is you got to be sober for High Stakes, though. So if you can stay sober, maybe we can talk in the future.
Tell him that he has to submit a urine sample and a breathalyzer before he's on the show.
Yeah.
I wonder if he has one of those things attached to the steering wheel on his car. I hope so. Ryan Renebaum, Eric can't even beat himself off. Yeah, that's how unathletic Eric is. He can't beat anything. I totally agree with you, Ryan.
Did you throw the word off in there?
Nope, he did it himself.
Okay.
It was a very well constructed joke by Ryan Renebaum, and I could not agree more.
Oh, he said that after Jason. So I had read Jason Sweden said Eric can't beat himself, and then Ryan responded, Eric can't even beat himself off. Okay.
And this is a good nomination. TC Creasy in our YouTube chat said that Alfred Payton had the shit haircut that didn't let him shoot. So I actually thought Alfred Payton's haircut was generally fine looking. I thought it was kind of cool. But yeah, it was something that he admitted impacted his ability to shoot a basketball.
Did he really?
Seems to be an issue. Yeah.
Which seemed obvious. Like watching him, it was like, how can you play basketball with that hairstyle? I didn't know that he admitted that it affected his shot. Like you can't have that hairstyle as a basketball player.
Yeah, I think he said that his free throw shooting would impact his shot because sometimes he would make contact with his hair and then other times it would get in his eyes and he couldn't see. So here was, there was a time he airballed a shot and then post-game press conference, he said that it was because of his hair.
That's funny.
See if I can find the link to it. I can't find the video searching. All right, let's look at NHA now. Let's build out some NHA parlay cards. And if you guys haven't signed up for our pick'em package yet over at stokastic.com, you guys can get access to that 7 days for free using the link below. And what you're going to find in our pick'em package, NHA, prize picks, underdog. This is going to help you win some money on these sites where you're building out prop parlays. They're called the pick'em sites. They become really popular as of late, and we've got all kinds of data and projections for them. I'm going to refresh our projections right now to see what it is that we like over on No House Advantage. And one more time to remind you guys, if you want to sign up and get a $100 bonus on your first deposit, use the link that we have below. Now, let me look at what some of our projections are showing. NHA. Computer refreshing. We got an ownership update not all that long ago. Go faster, computer. No House Advantage. So our number one projected prop is Xavier Tillman under points. Let me see how I feel about that. It's scary because it's such a good matchup. If I had to take a side, it would be the under on Tillman, but I'm hesitant to say under 10.5 just because of how good the matchup is. Here's one I definitely do like. We talked about it before. Jordan Klein. This is going to be the first thing that you put into our parlay here. Trey Murphy over 3.5 rebounds. I've bet this many, many times this year. It's been a prop that's been far too low, far too frequently for Trey Murphy. And I'm about to tell you guys why. Number one, great matchup against the Houston Rockets. We know Zion Williamson is out, but listen to some of these recent minutes for Trey Murphy. Last 3 games, 38 minutes, 30 minutes, 41 minutes, and actually the games for that 38, 38, and 38 minutes for Trey Murphy. For the season, he averages 3.7 rebounds per game in under 30 minutes. Now he's playing upwards of 40 minutes, and his prop line hasn't moved anywhere. I like over 3.5 boards for Trey Murphy. We're going to start with that on and over.
Nice.
Neil, your turn.
Oh, sorry, I was not preparing. I missed the transition.
I was trying to. I thought maybe it's okay. I will. I have the projection in front of me. I'll do another one. But yeah, pull it up so you could see what you could find, and then we could go back and forth a little bit here.
Yeah.
So I like the Trey Murphy one. What else projects well for us?
I'm trying to pull it up now.
Yeah, so I like this one as well. I know he's been playing fairly well as of late. Although, what's funny is, so Kyle Anderson was, crazy expensive the other day. And people were saying, because I didn't like him, that now he's going to have this like crazy ceiling game. And he was good. He scored 38 fantasy points, but he was also like nearly $8,000 over on DraftKings, which still made it to that 15.7 rebounds, 8 assists. Great game for Kyle Anderson relative to Kyle Anderson. Wasn't really relative to his price. But overall, as a starter this year, he's made 41 starts. He's only averaging 10.5 points per game. To me, the larger sample size speaks much more to who Kyle Anderson is than just what he did over the last week of games.
Right.
And Kyle Anderson, his over-under for points is 12.5. We have him for 11.4. The Bulls have actually been shockingly decent on defense this year. I'm going to agree with our projections here. Kyle Anderson under 12.5 points. That's another one that I'd like to add into there. Now, one thing that I would note is that we do have Naz Reid and Rudy Gobert questionable. I'm leaning towards they both play, though. They both played last game. We're on the injured report with the same injury.
I thought you said earlier that you thought Gobert was going to be sitting this one. Maybe I'm misremembering.
No, I said that I think he's going to play. I said I'm always on the wrong side of him, though.
Yeah. How do you feel about this Karis LeVert points prop of 12.5? You seem like you are more bearish on his minutes than our projection is, because we've got him projected for 30 minutes currently, and we still like the under. And you're thinking that he's, it sounded to me like you think he's probably going to play even less than 30 minutes here. Do you agree with that?
For LeVert?
Karis LeVert, yeah. Since Rubio is probably playing in this game.
No, I do not think we see the exact same minutes of LeVert. I know we got that question before. Somebody said, what if we get the exact same rotations out of the Cavs? I don't think that's going to be the case because Rubio was out last game. So I agree with you. I think that's a good call.
Yeah, let's take the under there.
All right. By the way, Chris Williams sent a follow-up super chat. You didn't have to do this. I was mostly just joking before, but he did say, promise I do not work for Stokastic. I could send a photo of my Apple badge. You don't have to do that. I'm not making you like dox yourself to prove that you're just a loyal listener.
Stop sending us money, Chris Williams. You gotta prove that you don't work for us before you send us more money.
You guys just know your stuff, and my profits and coworkers' profits have went way higher since finding the channel. No, I love it, and we really do appreciate all of the. No, it was funny because he sent us a message where he was asking us to do an ad read. So that was where were you on that show, or was that with Eric?
Wait, say it again.
There was a super chat Chris Williams had sent us where he asked us to do an ad read, and so that was when I started joking. I was like, "That's a Tom Kennedy burner."
Yeah, I was not on that show.
Okay. So, no, I believe you, Chris. It's just kind of joking. And Brian Sullivan said that he definitely said that he expects Gobert to sit. So if I said that, then I misspoke because I do not expect Gobert to sit.
Okay. Styles 95 DFS says, yeah, they helped me win $15,000. Should have been 6 figures, though. Hopefully next time.
There we go. I always think that. I always think it should.
Me too. Every night, really.
I'm curious to know, Styles, why should it have been more?
Yeah. What's the background there?
Yeah. There's always this thing in DFS where no matter what happens, you feel kind of like a loser at the end of the night. Probably the only time you haven't felt that way, Neil, is the time you won the Million Maker because you won the biggest prize possible that day. But here's always my experience. If I come in second, I should have come in first. If I come in third, I should have come in second. If I'm profitable, I should have been more profitable. Even if I come in first, I should have played that lineup in more contests. There's never a time that I really feel totally satisfied with my DFS night. You're always chasing something out there. And so I would imagine that you had that one day where you're like, I did it. I won the biggest prize possible. But do you also feel that way where somehow it always makes you feel like even if you win, you kind of didn't win the slate somehow?
Not if I win. If I because I play the largest field GPP and I don't typically play other stuff. Although lately I've been playing the 20 max instead. So maybe I will start feeling that if I do end up winning the $4 20 max because the price is so much lower. But typically I have played the largest field GPP. So if I win the largest field GPP, I'm not, thinking, oh, I should have entered this in more contests because I never do that. So when on the nights that I win, I don't have that feeling. But yeah, literally every other night, if I don't get first place, I very much have regrets and feel like I should have won more.
Got another super chat from Chris Albers. What about Kyrie if he plays? Kyrie is really expensive. I understand that he would benefit from the absence of Luka, but at the same time, Kyrie has not played since March 8th. So we haven't seen Kyrie play for about a week and a half. And I do get concerned that number one, his minutes might be a little bit down and his price is so expensive now. The last time we saw him play, he was 9,400. He's now 10,200. Are you playing Kyrie at all?
Well, you're kind of talking me off him. I was thinking about playing some Kyrie just because he's going to be so low owned. Nice matchup with the Lakers. But you think the minutes, I mean, we've got him projected for 36 and a half minutes. Do you think that's a little bit too bullish for Kyrie?
He's coming off a foot injury.
Yeah, it is a foot injury.
I always look at lower body injuries different than like an elbow injury or a thumb injury or anything like that, because it's not to say that he can't play a significant amount of minutes. I just doubt the ceiling for his minutes is as high as it is if he was healthy. And you kind of need that maximum ceiling when he's 10,200.
That's fair. That's a very good point. I mean, I only had one lineup with him anyway, so could get rid of it. The ceiling is just, if he does play big minutes, the ceiling would be absolutely massive. But that's a good point that they're probably not pushing him to 40 minutes off a foot injury.
I will add that I feel differently where he's about $1,000 cheaper on FanDuel. FanDuel is 9,500. That's a much more reasonable salary. The north of 10K price point, it's harder for me to get there.
Yeah.
Were there any other super chats that I didn't see? Just double checking. All right. I think we got all of those. Is there anything else that stands out to you in our projections for NHA? We don't, if we feel good about it, we could stop at the 3-leg parlay that we have.
Yeah. I mean, sort of like the Steph Curry over 4.5 3-pointers prop. That one, it's positive UV, but I can't say that it's like a slam dunk kind of bet. It's just that game has such a high total. I think it could go completely off. So 4.5 feels a little bit light on Steph Curry, but not something I feel super strongly about. I mean, we talked about Bogdan Bogdanovic a little bit earlier and how you think he could get extra run. And this is a game that has a huge total. Maybe we like that one. Maybe that's one that's a little bit more interesting. The 11.5 point total. I'm kind of interested in that over there. We don't need to play it, but I think that's another one I would consider.
Yeah, no, I think that definitely does make sense, especially if those minutes end up being what we talked about before. But I'd say we leave this parlay as is.
Let's do it.
But in the back of our mind, we know that we get 5x on this if it ends up hitting. No problems with that. Once again, if you guys want to sign up in NHA, use that link below. Use the promo code Greg, up to $100 bonus on your first deposit. Any big plans for the weekend, Neil? I'm about to check what some of the ownership is for the first game of the slate.
Yeah, tonight going to a dinner party. It was originally a St. Patrick's Day party, and then all of the parents who were invited said maybe. So then the host decided, screw it, we're not going to have this party, and they're just having those of us who said yes over for dinner tonight. So going over for a dinner party tonight should be fun.
Nice.
An old person St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, very adult of you.
Yeah.
All right, some of the ownerships in the first game of the slate. What did I just pull up? I pulled up the $4 on DK. These are the most popular players in the game. Joel Embiid projected for 27, or projected for. I always do that. I read off the ownership. I'm so used to just force of habit saying what a player's projected for. You don't need the projection. It's right in front of you. You're like the end of the night. He scores 70 fantasy points. It's projected for 70. No, it's just what happened. But Joel Embiid ended up at 27% ownership. Harden 13%. Harris, Tobias 11%. Tobias Harris 11%. And that's it. Nobody else in that game had north of 10% ownership. Dennis Smith Jr. at 6%. Slow start to the game as well. Joel Embiid has 11.5 fantasy points. Harden is 9.5. Nobody else really doing anything. Nick Richards in foul trouble. So there we go. Earlier, somebody asked about Kai Jones. Well, Nick Richards in early foul trouble. Here's the opportunity for Kai Jones. He's out there on the court. He hasn't done anything yet, but he's out there. JT Thor in the game alongside him. So we've got that going on. That is the only game currently happening. I also want to give you guys an update on the NBA injury report, which nothing has changed over the course of the last few minutes, but I want to just make sure you guys have in mind who is questionable and who to look out for news for as Neil and I sign off. Kyrie Irving remains questionable. Rudy Gobert is questionable. Jeremy Grant is questionable. Marcus Smart is questionable. Naz Reid is questionable. Of those players, Neil, who is most likely to have the biggest impact on your lineups if they were ruled out?
Oh, it's 100% Jeremy Grant for me because I'm playing a bunch of Yusuf Nurkic, and then I'll have interest in Trendon Watford as well if he's out. So yeah, it's definitely Jeremy Grant for me. How about you?
If Kyrie is out, like that's going to look. Where's some of the prices now on the Dallas players? Where have these guys been priced to? I guess maybe if Kyrie is out, and then Tim Hardaway's 66 now, so I play more. I don't imagine I would be playing very much of Jaden Hardy now up at 7,300. Tim Hardaway at 66, I'd probably be getting to him if Kyrie was ruled out. Christian Wood up to 67 now. Boy, he come through for us the other day.
Yeah.
With the Christian Wood night. That was the best night I'd had in a little bit. I think Wood ended up being 3% owned that night, if I remember correctly.
So I made a huge mistake when he didn't end up starting. I cut back to our projection for Christian Wood. So I had given him a big increase and got a ton of Christian Wood. And then when he didn't start, I got scared off him and cut back to our projection, which was still good enough that I had him in a couple lineups, but like I was going to be, massively overweight, and instead I was slightly overweight. So didn't get the same benefit that you did there.
Yeah. And Ryan Houston says Gobert is the biggest piece of news. I mean, for me though, it's the injury reports are so weird for the Timberwolves because Rudy Gobert and Naz Reid both played last game. They're on the injury report with the same injury. So, oh, by the way, I remember what I said earlier before. I recall now about Rudy Gobert, if I'm not mistaken. This is what I had said. I said, whenever I guess what happens with Rudy Gobert, I end up being on the wrong side of it. I said that if I'm convinced he plays, he ends up sitting. If I'm convinced he sits, he ends up playing. So I had said, if this rings a bell now. I said that I think Rudy Gobert is going to play, therefore he's going to sit. I think that's what I said at the top of the show. Does that seem familiar?
That could be what you said.
But my actual feeling is I do think Rudy Gobert plays. I know
Okay.
that was all very confusing. If he was out, that would obviously be massively impactful, but I am fairly confident that he ends up playing just because him and Naz Reid were on the injury report last game with the exact same injuries and they played through them. I feel like the Timberwolves never update their injury reports. I think like once every 3 weeks they update it.
Yeah, I think that is accurate. They don't do a good job with the injury reports. You're probably right, Ryan, that would be more impactful if that news comes out than Jeremy Grant. But that wouldn't be. It doesn't affect what I have right now. At least it would. Obviously, I would change everything, get to a ton of Naz Reid if Gobert is out and Naz is in. But in terms of what I have right now, I'm hoping Jeremy Grant is out.
All right. By the way, Kai Jones now in 1 minute is 2 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist. Everybody's been saying forever that Joel Embiid has met his match in Kai Jones. Joel Embiid cannot contain Kai Jones. Anyway, that brings us to lock. Guys, thank you very much for sticking around. I hope you have a great weekend. One thing you can do for us before you leave, though, is like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Have a great weekend. I'm going to be back here tomorrow, I believe, with Neil Saturday night, right?
Yep, I'll be back too.
All right, cool. We'll be doing live before lock while I'm watching the MMA fights. I'm looking forward to that. Guys, have a great weekend. See you tomorrow. Good luck.